Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Welcome, everyone, to Morris Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka Amaana El Bey. This evening, our special guest will be Brother Yonah L. Brother Yonah L. is our Black Unity Coordinator and Executive Director of that, the Sons and Daughters of Africa, Director of Friends of the African Union in Georgia, leader of the FAU, Men Senior Director of My Brother's Keeper of Africa, Metro Atlantic founder of Global Family Investments Incorporated, New Teem Toothpaste Company, founder of Artistic Attitudes International Dance Company, and INDANCO. We're going to have our guests in shortly. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, anytime you call into this broadcast, dial the number 310-982-4184. And press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you have something to say. Okay? All right. That also goes for my guests whenever you're dialing in. Just press 1 on your phone, and that'll let me know that you're in the queue, and we can bring you in. Okay. Now, before we get down to the broadcast, as usual, we're going to do our commercials, and then when we come back, we're ready to go. Hold on a second, viewers.
Okay, everybody, listen up. If you have been served with papers for foreclosure, or if you are already in court fighting foreclosure, call Tarhaka Amaana El Bey at area code 904-303-9061 for the foreclosure killer. You can visit our website at www.newdebtelimination.com. You don't have to lose your home. Call Tarhaka 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stop foreclosure dead in its tracks. Okay? Okay, check this out. The entire U.S. operates on contracts. Everything is about a contract. We have to learn how to create our own contracts and enforce them instead of always being a victim of somebody else's contracts they enforce. Let's launch some of our own. Go to www.newdebtelimination.com. Contact me, Tarhaka Amaana El Bey, 904-303-9061. We don't have to continue to be a victim. We can do something about this thing, man. And once you learn the rules of the game and you learn how to formulate your own contract and how to enforce them, it's on and popping. Give me a call, 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to newdebtelimination.com. One more time, Our foreclosure killer package not only comes along with the necessary documents that you need, but also your very own personal coach to walk you through the process of saving your home. If you've been foreclosed on already, or if you've received documents stating that you'll be foreclosed on, or if you are already in the court fighting a foreclosure, contact Tarhaka Amaana El Bey, 904-303-9061. Also visit our website at www.newdebtelimination.com. Stop foreclosure on your property. Let's stop this unlawful practice. Contact me, 904-303-9061, before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
Okay, Morris, we're ready to go. Now, our guests have not arrived yet, and we will be opening up the phone lines later on this evening. So 310-982-4184 is the number to call. Just press 1 on the phone, and that will let me know that you are in the queue. Now, today it's been set aside for Martin Luther King's birthday, and we want to say thanks to the brother for the things and the works that he done, and we certainly appreciate it. And I want to bring that up and so that we can remember that those days took place and the sacrifices that were made for our future. See a caller with his hand raised. Come on. Open up. Area code 470. 470. You're on the air.
This is Yonah L. How you doing this evening, Brother Tarhaka Bey?
All right, my guess. I'm just fine, brother. What's going on?
I'm doing well, Just wanted to make sure I was get in this evening so we could get this call going. So I can go ahead and give you this information about the sons and daughters. And I've got my phone is blowing up here. How you doing, Reverend Sam? Hold on a second there. Yeah, my call. Hold on. See there? My people are calling me over here trying to find out about your program. But anyway,
okay. Just tell them to call 310-982-4184, and they can follow the props on the phone. They have a question or comment.
All right. I'll do it when I. Okay. Anyway, my phone is blowing up. I'm telling everybody I want them to come on the call because a lot of people were asking me questions about what we're doing, and I'm explaining to them one-on-one. So I told if everybody come on the call, it'd be a lot easier because I can explain to people in a group setting, and they can call in and ask questions, hear what other people's questions are, and, we can get a clearer understanding.
Okay. We're ready to go, and I'm certainly appreciative of you being in there on the show this evening, and I yield the floor, and you can tell us all about it.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be on your show. I think it's a pleasure and honor. And any of my friends that that are on the call listening now, I'd like to inform them that they should listen to you as often as they can, because the information that you brought to me has been very important. And now, I want to reciprocate by sharing with you and your audience the information that I have that's beneficial to all of us. I guess. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess the best way to start is to go ahead and let everybody know about who I am, and then I guess I can tell them a little about the sons and daughters of Africa, and then going on to the FAU and my brother's keeper. My name is Dav-E Yonah L, and a lot of people call me Buck. That's B.U.C. Okay, that stands for Black Unity Coordinator. It also stands for Building Universal Consciousness. That's my mindset. That we as a people have, at least for our people, have forgotten how to connect with the universe. And once we can get that mindset back, we can do great, wonderful things. People should never forget that we are the ones that built those pyramids that no one can figure out today. And we did that through unity of purpose and being one mind and focus and understanding that this is something done through communal love and understanding and inner reflection where we are concerned about our brothers. instead of being antagonistic and trying to be individuals. So that's what we need to get back to. But anyway, so let's talk about the sons and daughters of Africa. A little over 2 years ago, he's a friend now, at least he was for some time, contacted me. I don't remember how he got my number, but he asked me about coming on as the executive producer for the Sons and Daughters of Africa. The Sons and Daughters of Africa was a very ambitious program to take a tour into 21 different African countries. And the whole purpose of this tour was to gin up economic development in the continent of Africa. And after I looked at this program, I said, it's a great program, but, it's a little too ambitious. We can't do all of that in the time we have, so let's go ahead and work through this. And I just decided that the best way to move forward was for us to have a tour in America first and generate the revenue and the interest here before we went to Africa. So that's where we did. We put it on hold. We mothballed it for 2 years while we worked out the bugs in the program. Now, at the same time, I ran into a gentleman by the name of Herschel Daniels. Now, Herschel Daniels had the FAU. FAU is the Friends of the African Union. Now, he came about that as a result of his travels and his journeys. And for that information, which is for another call, and so I won't want to belabor that issue here, but anybody who's interested about the Friends of the African Union or anything I'm talking about this evening, they should go to our website, which is au6.info. That's AU, the number 6.info, not .com, .info, au6.info. You'll find my contact information there. You'll find a bevy of information about what we do and how we are interacting with the world. Now, back to the Friends of the African Union. For the Friends of the African Union and information about that, you'll want to go to FAU. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. Let's go to the AU6. Okay, so here's the deal. Mm-hmm. In 2012, the African Union set out a plan called Agenda 2063. Agenda 2063. You can Google it. You'll find out what it is. It is Africa's 50-year plan for the unification of Africa. Now, Africa had at that time 5 regions, the north, the south, the east, the west, and the central regions of Africa. But in order for them to implement their 50-year plan, which included all Africans all over the world, they had to identify those who were not living on the continent. And they did that by defining the 6 regions of Africa as being all of the diaspora. All the rest of us are not living on the continent. Didn't matter if you were part of the slave trade or you were an African who had left Africa and were living abroad. You were part of the diaspora. So what they did, they said, in order to engage us so that we can work together to unite Africa, we will set aside 20 seats for you at our table so you can come to the African Union and engage us on the Economic, Cultural, and Social Society Advisory Board, which is the highest advisory board in the African Union. There are 54 countries in Africa, and all of them are members of the African Union. The only one that's not is Morocco. So they said, come to us, and we'll work with you. So in order to make that happen, they said, now we can't talk to individual groups. You must unite as a people. You must become a nation, one people, and we will engage you. So we'll set these 20 seats aside for you. But in order to take these 20 seats, this is what you must do. You must, number one, you must have first thing you've got to do is have a volunteer corps. A volunteer corps. The second thing you must do is you must have a skills database. The third thing you must do is you must deal with the African remittance. The fourth thing you must do is you must have an investment bank. The fifth thing you must do is you must have a marketplace for the African development. Now, I'll deal with all those issues a little later. But anyway, they set up those 5 legacy projects. They said you must deal with these projects, and then we will work with you. So once those 5 legacy projects were accomplished, then we must have a vote. The vote must be stood up so that we can elect 20 representatives to go and take those seats and sit down with them. And we're talking about governance here. We're not just talking about interaction. We're talking about serious governance. They said those 20 seats must be half male, half female, and half of them must be between the ages of 18 to 35. So that way you have men represented, you have women represented, and you have the young people represented. And we'll engage you. So those 5 legacy projects I spoke of a minute ago, Herschel Daniels, the chairman of the FAU, and our entire group, all of the FAU members from D.C. to L.A., from Chicago to New Orleans, and, of course, here in Atlanta, all of us in all of the other states, we all have been working together to achieve the 5 legacy projects. Now, once that's fully accomplished, we will stand up a vote on October the 16th of 2016. We will stand up the vote that I told you about a minute ago where you elect these 20 people to represent us. We will stand up that vote on October the 16th of 2016. Now, what we have done, just earlier last week, we have now in place a Pan-African owned and operated phone company. Anywhere in the United States that you got a phone company, if it's AT&T or T-Mobile or Bell South, if it's Comcast or Sprint or Verizon, you now have a black-owned telephone company to compete with them. You can now put your money with us. We're standing it up. We're not talking about doing it. We've already done it. In a few days, you'll be able to put your phone service with us. Any phone. That is, it's got to be unlocked phone. But if it doesn't meet with our service, it'll have to be unlocked. Now, you can go to Microsoft and buy a tablet. You can get it loaded with our software, with our own program. One of the programs we have, one of the apps on our program that you can get on our laptop or on our phone, is an app that will tell you where black businesses are. Wherever you are, it will tell you what black businesses are in your vicinity. Now, all of this is part and parcel of a program designed to solve the biggest problem that we have had in this country since the days of slavery, and that is the lack of unity. Unity is our biggest problem. People will come up and they'll say our problem is crime. They'll say our problem is education. They will say our problem is, anything you want to talk about, but it all boils down to lack of unity. Now, unity is very important because with unity, we can get something that is necessary for us to take the next step, and that is economic development. You can talk about anything you want. If you don't have economics, you have nothing. In this country, this very country right here, when they first founded this country, and people can talk about slavery and the causes and everything, slavery, today you talk about racism, slavery was never originally a race issue. Slave was all about economics. The whole concept of capitalism was about being able to take advantage of someone, to get as much as you could off of them, and that's how slavery came about. Now, when we came over here, and we were chattel slaves, which means they held us with bit and bridle, they cracked us with a whip. Whatever we worked, we probably got away with maybe 2 cents worth of what we worked. Whatever we worked, we did as slaves. What we got out of it was basically just food and a place to live, enough clothes just to keep us alive. That's all we really got as slaves. Of course, they beat us like hell, and they hung a lot of us. They killed us. But those of us that stuck around, we got about 2 cents off of the dollar that we worked, because that's all we took to take care of us. Of course, we were always trying to sabotage the work, and we were trying to run away and stuff like that. But that's what it was. Now, when you think about today, with all of the gains that we have made, I want you to really think about this. Today, you know how much money we make when we work compared to back then? Today, we make $1.2 trillion a year. $1.2 trillion in revenue every year. But we only keep 2% of that. In other words, in spite of the illusion of freedom that we have, we are still working for slave wages. So what we have done is we have set out a plan to change that dynamic, to build an economic base that will lift us out of this despicable condition that we find ourselves in. and it's all based on economics. Now, we have set forth a $5 trillion budget. Now, I know a lot of people hear that number, and it's going to knock them over because they can't think $5 trillion. So let me just start a little lower. We have set up a budget that is about so much more. You know, every night talking about what's happening with Iran, and Iran's just recently got $100 billion? Iran just got $100 billion. Released it. Okay, $100 billion. $100 billion. It takes 1,000 billion to make a trillion. Now, we're going to take that number and multiply it times 5. We're talking about more money than anybody can ever imagine. Don't worry about that. But the point is this. We are talking about enough money to change the condition of our people, not only here in America, but the conditions of the people in Africa as well. We're talking about putting our people back to work. Now, how are we going to do this? We're buying infrastructure programs. I already told you, we already got the phone company set up. We're buying infrastructure programs like the stores in Cincinnati. Like right now, what's going on in Flint, Michigan with that fiasco up there, we're talking about setting up those kind of infrastructures where we go in and completely rework that water system. We have the ability to do that. We have the engineers to do that. Herschel, I told you about earlier, chairman, this man was a NASA-trained engineer. He's an oceanography technician. They mapped out the seafloor. Now, we have set up an opportunity plan where we can set up our own nation. We don't have to leave America. A lot of people want to leave America and go back to Africa. If you want to do that, we have the Fianca tribe. If you want to stay here, then we have the Native Americans. We have networking, got a lot of people coming to the table, working with us so that we can, the documents are already on President Obama's desk so that we can move this forward. We've already put it on his desk. We are meeting with Janet Yellen, his Treasury Secretary, in March.
Okay.
All the work has been done, and people don't know about it. Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." These things are going on, people don't know about it. So we have to get the word out and let people know how important this is. And that this year, not next year, but this year, before Obama leaves office, we can have those funds allocated. We can implement it into our programs. So we're asking people, if you have a business that you want to implement, you need to let us know because we can put it in our plan. If you don't have a business plan written, we can write it for you. But if you've got a business model and you got a business plan, you need to submit it to us so we can put it in the program. We've been talking to Dr. Claude Anderson, working with him with Powernomics. We've been talking to Dr. Henderson. We've got to get him on board. We're working with WADU, the World African Diaspora Union. We're working with the Mighty Forefront, all the gangs and motorcycles out there in California, L.A. We've worked with them. We work with the United Nations. We work with the New Future Foundation. We are working with groups and organizations all over the world to put this together. And the people in America, our black people, the ones we're working for, are not aware of what's going on. So I'm using your program and other programs to bring people up to speed. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to stop for a moment, see if anybody has any questions. If they do, I'm going to deal with those. If not, I'll move on with the conversation. So you want
okay, Yonah.
Okay. Does anybody got any questions to ask?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question about anything that Brother Yonah L. has just explained to you, just press 1 on your phone. Dial in 310-982-4184. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me indication that you have something to say. Okay? All right. Brother Yonah, you can continue. And I will know when they have something to say.
Okay. All right. So when when a lot of people are talking today, they're talking about problems. It's easy to talk about the problems. Everybody can talk about problems. We're talking about solutions. When you look at this, when you talk about the problem that people have, you talk about crime. I was at a meeting the other day over at the South Precinct here in Atlanta, Georgia, and they were asking people to come over and talk about what's going on in this community because the governor here set up a program called OSD. OSD is the Opportunity School District. Now, what that means is it gives the governor the same ability that they did up there in Detroit, where the governor went in and took over he took over the schools, but also they went in and took over that city of Flint. They took over Detroit, same thing. Took the elected people out and put his people in there. and they went in and they destroyed the water system trying to save money. Poisoned all of those with lead. They were trying to save a few dollars. Well, the governor's trying to do something similar to that here. He wants to take over every school that's failing so that he can take the money and give it to his cronies. And how's he going to do that? He's going to say, well, we're going to come in, we're going to fix this school. So you're going to come in, we're going to turn this school into a charter school. We're going to close this school, we're going to close that school, we're going to turn this into a charter school. They're going to take all the money and we're going to make it work. And all they do is they pocket the money, they destroy the school system. And he goes out of office, he walks away, they got the money, and you never hear more about it. That's just the way they play the game. Well, Obama did two things to make it so that we can actually fight that. And you can fight this anywhere in the United States. He has My Brother's Keeper. Now, that's one of the other things I was telling you about a moment ago. I told you about Sons and Daughters of Africa. I told you about the Friends of the African Union. And I told you about My Brother's Keeper. Okay? Now, the Friends of the African Union is a chamber of commerce. With that, we engage also with the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. And that's an industry that's a business that has controlled and initiated over $500 billion of business loans in our community, the small businesses. Now, we have a connection with them where if somebody doesn't have a good credit score, but they have a business plan, or if they have an idea, and I said, we'll write the business plan for you if it's a good idea, and you don't have a good credit score, because of our connection, the way we're set up, and we're insured through Lloyd's of London, then we can elevate your score by 300 points. So they ask you to have a 730 credit score to get a prime loan. If you got less than that, they either charge you higher interest rates or they won't give you money. Or they'll give you less than you asked for, they'll charge you higher rates, and they give you short term. In other words, they'll put you into a bind where if you take the money, you're not going to succeed. You'll just be able to fail. You'll just be able to fail next year instead of right now. So what we do is we elevate that credit score so that you can actually qualify for the prime rate loan, and we make sure you get enough money to implement your plan. But when we do that, we take an equity position. In other words, we monitor your business, and we make sure that the right people who know how to make sure that business succeeds are involved so that you don't fail. We make sure that. And we do have the people to make that happen.
Now, let me ask you this. What type of businesses are we talking about? Are we talking about, give me a general idea that the average individual may consider. What type of businesses?
All right. Let me just start with something I talked to somebody about earlier today. You familiar with, in our community, there's a $16 billion business in our community that's called hair care. Hair care in the black community is a $16 billion business. And you know who owns that business in our community?
Oh yeah, I know.
Just in case somebody doesn't know, and I know they do, but I'm going to say it anyway. The Koreans dominate that industry. In our community, in a black community, we have Koreans who make $16 trillion off of our community. Now, just recently, sister name, I think her name is Frances Hill and Princess Frances, anyway, two sisters, and they live in Baltimore. I got to get the exact information for them. They opened up a store called Ambience, and it's a black-owned hair beauty supply store. They're like, hey, we're spending all this in our community, so this is so they're setting up their business. Now I'm talking to these sisters about franchising since they've got their business set up. I'm like, you know what? Instead of trying to go head to head and put one business here, one business there, so let's franchise it. Make your name a brand. So when somebody hears your name, they know that's a black business, and we want to do business with you. So we want to take that name, we want to make it national so that people understand when you go to buy your hair care products and, it's a good business, why go spend all your money to the Koreans? You spend it to a sister who lives in your community. She puts that money back in your community. You spend your money at the Koreans, they take it to their community. Now, what about, let's say, there's a brother I talked to who wants to open a training center down in New Orleans. He's got a big old building. The building's in horrible condition. Why does he want the buildings in horrible condition? Because it's got to be cheap. Number one, he can buy it cheap, or we can get it donated. Then we can hire our construction companies to hire our people, put our people to work, going in and renovating that building. That's building business for our people. And once it's completed, he's going to put different types of training programs in there, where you teach robotics, where you can teach construction engineering, where you can teach electrical engineering, where you can teach any different type of career that a person normally can't get into, because so many times in our people in our past they've been to jail or whatever, they got a criminal background record and they can't get a job. Well, see, we don't care about that. All we care about is, have you learned your lesson? Are you willing to go ahead and be a viable member of society? Because if you are, then we want to put you to work. And since we've got these jobs where you can go in, we can teach you and train you, and we've got these industries, we're going to put you in there because we know who you are. We know what you've been through. And we know that you're ready to give up that old life and go to the new life. So this is the kind of things we're talking about. For instance, I'll tell you about the phone company. Now, right now, if a person ever thought about you going to T-Mobile and say, Dad, I wish I could have me a T-Mobile store, but nobody ever let me have a T-Mobile store. Well, yes, we will, because it's ours. All you got to do is have a heart and the desire and the determination, and we'll help you set it up, help you run it, get on your feet. Now, if you drop the ball, then we're going to take it over and put somebody else in there, because it's got to be business. We've got to keep it going, but we'll give you that shot. If you want to have a car dealership, right now, one of the things I did, I set up a toothpaste company. I'm selling toothpaste, fluoride-free toothpaste. You may want to make. I have one sister I talked to from France. They're doing a clothing design factory. So they're designing things in Paris. I talked to a sister named Tamika McClendon who's got a connection down in Sparta, Georgia. Got a lot of sisters down there. They used to do seamstress, all of them. The country went south, and all these sisters out of business. They all used to sew. So we're putting up a connection with them where the sisters in Paris are creating these designs, and they're not just for the slim figure girl. They got some full-figure designs. And we're connecting them with the sisters down there who are out of work in Sparta so that they can come back to work as seamsters making these clothes so we can turn them back and put them back in our community. Now, that means that since we get this clothing line, we got to have stores. We got to have distribution centers where people can buy these clothes. So that's another business that we're going to build. See? So all these things, and we're looking at our community. Go to any gas station. You go in there, you see Pakistani, you see people from everywhere. You don't see many black businesses in there. So what we want to do is we want to start looking at these stores, these places like these gas stations, where you go in there and they don't have a bathroom. Say you can't even use the restroom in a place, but they're going to take your money. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to identify. First off, we're going to identify all of the black gasoline stations in your community and make sure everybody knows where they are so that you can patronize them. And then all these other stores, we're going to get these young brothers, these activists, these people, these Black Lives Matter, or these people that want to go out and rally against the police. We're going to tell them, listen, we'll deal with the police because we got 21st Century Initiative. Obama's already set it out. He wrote it out. That's one of the programs we're going to use. The 21st Century Policing Practices that allow us to control the police. Like I said before, we're destroyed for lack of knowledge. We have the knowledge now. He wrote the manual. We're going to use that manual so that we can control the police in all these communities, and we're going to show people how to do it. We're not just going to tell you, we're going to show you how to do it, how you can control the police. Another industry going to do. But going back to the other one. So all these people want to march and protest. We're going to say, go down there and you march and protest in front of this gasoline station that doesn't have a bathroom. And you tell them if they don't open a bathroom up in there, you're not going to do business. You tell them if they don't take that money and put it back in your community in some way. I don't mean buying some jerseys for the football team at the local high school. No. I mean really put some money in that community. Then we're going to let them know we're not going to do business with you. And if you don't do business with them, they'll go out of business. And when they do, guess what we're going to do? We're going to put some black people in there to run that business. People who live in the community, who will be concerned about you. This is the kind of things we're talking about doing. We talk to
that's
everybody. Well, no, the thing is, we looking at people who are short-sighted. Our people have been indoctrinated since before they were born to be consumers. We think it's okay when you get some money, you're supposed to spend it. When you talk about money, when people get money in our community, well, let's start at the big end. When white people get money, or Jews get money, they get their money. They take their money and they spend it with another white person. That white person spends it with another person, and back and forth. whether they're paying their light bill, their gas bill, whether they're putting gas in their car, whether they're buying a car, whether they're paying a house bill, or whether they're buying food or shoes or toothpaste, whatever they're buying, books and clothes for their children, whatever they're buying, they're spending that money in their community. That dollar bounces around 17 times before it finally leaves that community. Other communities, like the Asians, it bounce around 12, 13 times. And on down until you get to black people. When a dollar hit the black community, now I'm not saying that everybody gets a dollar, they spend it right away. But when you look at the collective black community, when a dollar comes in our community, it stays there. Wait for it. The dollar in our community for 6 hours before it leaves. And then people wonder why we got little teenagers running around breaking in houses. Because they're hungry. They ain't got no food. They don't have any clothes. They don't have any shoes. They can't go to the movie. They can't go out there with their friends to have a good time because they don't have no money. So they're going to do whatever they can, and that is an economic problem. It's not because they're bad kids. It's an economic problem. And the only way we can solve that is with businesses. When you go to work for somebody, you got a job, J-O-B, just over broke. You got people work all their life, and when they get a vacation, they can't go nowhere. Their vacation is stay at home and watch TV or go out to dinner. Can you imagine? Well, I guess you can. People work 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and then retire, and they never been on a real vacation. We got a program.
Oh, yes, I've seen it. I've actually seen a woman work for a company all her life, and she finally retired, well up into her late 60s, and they gave her going away retirement party, but the very next day she died.
And see, that's the thing, you know. And this happens consistently in our community. And people think that's par for the course, but it's not, because on the other side of town, those people, every year they take a 2-week vacation, and not just to the next state. They flying out of the country, first class. They going to Africa, your own country. They're going back to our motherland. They're going to Israel. They're going to Paris. They're going to Rome. They're going to Egypt. Every year they're going someplace. And when they feel like it, somebody dies in the family, they don't have to rake and scrape. They just go to the funeral. Our people, somebody died, you got to figure out, well, if I go to the funeral, I can't pay my light bill. That's because we're still living in volunteer slavery. This is wage slavery. It's you think you're free. It's an illusion. You know, and you go to work to the plantation, like I said, Walmart or some of these places. I remember, you know, for 6 years I was a commercial electrician. Before that, I had a performing arts center. Before that, I was a salesman. I've had very good paying jobs, and I did very well for myself. But there came a point in time when you know, the company I was working for went bankrupt, and another company that I was an electrician. We had just built a company. It was a Burlington Coat factory out in Austell, Georgia. The company I was working for went bankrupt, and so they let everybody go. They let everybody go, but they didn't let me go because I was the only person that did high voltage and low voltage. I mean, I did the wiring for the house, the building, as well as burglar alarms. I did phone systems and things like that, communication. I did both. So when the new company came in, they had to keep me there because nobody knew how to run the communication system. Nobody knew how to do the phones. And then they had to fax their time sheets in, so they made sure I stayed there. And so I worked for both. Well, when the place was finished, they offered me a job. They said, hey, we want to stay here. We need a maintenance man. Well, I had been working for 6 years, traveling all over the country. They sent me to Alabama, sent me to Florida, on the Sanibel Island, sent me up to Augusta. I traveled all over the place, and I got tired of that. So I said, okay, I'll take the job. So I worked for them. Now, this company, and this is what they did. There's only 2 of us there. 1 week, I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the morning, and I worked Tuesday and Thursday at night. The next week, I worked Monday and Wednesday and Friday in the evening, and Tuesday and Thursday in the day. And I said, this is crazy. I said, I can't know life like this. I couldn't fix nothing. My son was playing football. I couldn't make his practices. I said, I can't do nothing because anytime I set something up, 1 week, the next week I got to change it. So these two guys, we decided, we said, listen, there's only two of us, so let one of us will work the day shift, the other one works the night shift, and we'll alternate on weekends. That way they'll have their coverage and we can have a life. You know what the company told me? They told me this. They said, no, we can't do that. I said, why not? You only got two of us. You want coverage. I said, why we got to work this crazy schedule? We're going to keep you covered. It's better for us. It's better for you because of the consistency. And they said, and I said, the man told me, he said, listen, I told him, I said, I got to have a life. He said, your life revolves around your job. I said, excuse me? He said, your job is the most important thing in your life. I said, oh, excuse the hell out of me, sir. No, it's not. My family is the most important thing in my life. I said, if you can't make this change, you have to find another maintenance man. As a matter of fact, you know what? That's the only way to do the job. I walked off. I said, but I was so upset. I walked away. Well, the whole point is that mentality is the way they can manipulate us. When you go to all of these stores like McDonald's or Burger King, whatever, then nobody has a regular schedule. They keep people's schedule all crazy so they can't work nobody else. In other words, it's designed, by design, to keep those people impoverished or just at the poverty level where the only thing they can do is keep working. They can't get ahead. And that mindset is the way they manipulate you because now a person, because you're doing just enough to survive, you're worried about your job because you're surviving and you're going to hold on to it. And so, that makes you easy to manipulate. And that's the way they do us. So what we want to do is we want our people to get out of that mindset. Now, part of our program, when I tell you earlier, the old concept of the Sons and Daughters of Africa, that was a tour. It was a performance tour. Well, we've modified it. Now, we begin our tour, and we will begin in March. We're going to be going around the country for 6 months, and we're going to be telling people all about their vote, the all-important vote in October. And the whole purpose of that vote is originally for us to go to the African Union and sit down with them. But what's more important is that we'll unite our people. And we're directing everybody to become members in WADU, the World African Diaspora Union. It's free. You join it. That is the umbrella I told you about earlier, the volunteer corps. If you're a business, if you are an industry, if you are a school, if you are a church, if you're a cultural organization, whatever, then you become a member of WADU. That's the umbrella for the volunteer corps. If you're not a member of something like SCLC, NAACP, any of those cultural organizations like that, if you're part of UNIA, ACL, if you're part of the of any of those groups, and by the way, a lot of those, they're already in partner with us. If you join any of those groups, then you can be a member of WADU. Now, from these groups, you got to be a member of one of those groups to run for those 20 seats I was telling you about. Well, anyway, that's the umbrella, the WADU. That's the first step. And the second one, again, is that skills database. Now, we've already set that up. And that's on AU6.global. Now, that's going to go up, I believe, sometime next month. But that's being formulated right now. Now, everybody's heard of Wikipedia. Everybody's heard of Wikipedia. Right. Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, yada, yada. Well, Wikipedia is no longer Wikipedia. Wikipedia is now FAU, Friends of the African Union. We now own Wikipedia. And we're going through there. We're going through it line by line. So if there are any librarians out there, we got work for you. We're going line by line through Wikipedia, and through Universal Periodic Review, we're going to make sure that everything in there is accurate. If it's not accurate, we're going to kill it. Now, we also are going to put in, what the most important thing that's missing in there, and that is black us. It's going to be there. We're going to put it in there. We're going to put it in there in its most lucid details. We're not leaving anything out. None of that whitewash stuff. It's going to be clear and easy to find, all of it. And it's unadulterated form.
Brother Yonah, I got a caller with his hand raised at area code 404. I'm going to put up the line. Area code 404, you on the air. 404, come on in.
Yeah. Hi, Yonah. This is Kareem Shabazz. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brother Kareem. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Listen, I wanted to interject something. The concept that you can take the nigger out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the nigger. What I mean by that is that money is not the total solution to the problem of the African American. There's been studies that have been done. When I lived in D.C., the city was under the leadership of Mayor Marion Barry. And they had a woman that had 11 children and had been on welfare. She didn't know, she had never been married, and she had all of these children that she was raising. And they decided that they were going to help this woman. So they found a house big enough where she could have 6 bedrooms for the children. They renovated the building, the house, and put all new furniture in, painted, gave her all of the public services that they had to offer, and also gave her $2,000 a month, and told her to raise her family. And after a year, they came back to see what had happened. And in that year's time, they found that the woman was pregnant with her 12th child. There were holes in the walls. The kids weren't going to school. They were smoking dope in the house. And she was back to square one. But she had the opportunity to live in a nice place, live under good conditions, have enough money for her to be able to take care of all of her responsibilities and then some.
You know, Brother,
my question is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
My question is, what can be done to educate our people as to how to live according to the best possible manner that people can live to take care of their family? I mean, a lot of people have never had a family that they learned how to parent, how to raise children, how to be responsible, how to improve their condition, how to get an education, how to discipline themselves so that they can read and understand and educate themselves. We have had 2 or 3 generations of young men especially who don't know who their fathers are. The mothers, the females need a man in their lives too. They need a responsible role model in their lives so that when they choose a man to be with, that they can choose a good man instead of a bum who talks slick and wears slick clothes.
You know, Brother Kareem,
I hope I described that.
I love to hear you testify. Now, Brother Tarhaka Bey, now you see the kind of people that I interact with. This is a broad traveler. This is a brother calling here. He's from Atlanta, Brother Kareem Shabazz.
Uh-huh.
This kind of question that brother asked. Straight asked. No holds barred. And I'm glad he asked that question. Because earlier in the conversation, I mentioned Agenda 2063, a 50-year plan. And remember I said one of the problems that we have as a people is that we always thinking about next week, next month, next year, and we get lost in the strat because of that. I said our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Now, with all of that, I said that our primary problem is economic, and I also told you that I was going to tell you about the sons and daughters of Africa and that whole concern that I had about going to Africa and how we decided we need to do this in America first. Well, all of this ties into the question that he just asked, because the Sons and Daughters of Africa tour is designed to educate our people about the vote. Yes, but it has another important aspect. We are going into the schools. Remember I said a moment ago about My Brother's Keeper of Africa, the plan that Obama set out. What My Brother's Keeper says is an African-American child must be able to go to school from cradle to college to career in a crime-free environment. Now, the status quo focuses on that crime end, that end of it, that criminal justice. We're saying that's the result. He just said it was from cradle. So if it's at cradle, we need to start on that end at the beginning. And how do we do that? We have our 50-year plan. FAU has a 50-year plan. Now, if you got a 50-year plan, then these people that are our age, they're not going to be around to see it. These people that he's talking about, they're not going to be around to see it. You remember when in the book of Exodus, when Moses led the people around from the promised land, they wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years. You know why they did that? Because they had to get rid of those people that had the wrong thinking. They had to change the environment they lived in and keep those people on their toes, walking until they died out. But in the end, they had a new generation of people that had been raised the proper way and they're taught. All the time when they wandered in the wilderness, they were being taught and trained what they needed to do so they could survive in the new promised land. And that's what we're doing. The Sons and Daughters of Africa goes into the schools. We start at the very beginning. Right now, we're working with the Title I program, where we're going into schools. We're setting up after-school programs so that when those kids or school is over with, instead of them going home, they stay at the school. We train them. We send in our tutors. We send in our mentors. We get them on sporting programs, and we train and mentor those children, make sure they're getting their grades, make sure they're learning everything, and make sure that more than anything, they get the history of our people. They've learned the connection of who they truly are. Because our children are not rebelling from school because they don't know how to learn. They're rebelling because they know that system was not designed for them. They're not stupid. They're smart. And that's the reason they reject school. That's the reason they hang their pants down. They're rebelling. They're trying to say, we don't like this. Something's wrong. For me to go to school 12 years and come out and go to work for McDonald's, they understand that that's a new form of slavery and they're not buying it. Well, so we're going into those schools, and we are making sure that, number one, that parent he was talking about, we're not just going to give them money. I told you earlier, we're setting up business. We're setting up industry, and we're going to train people. Now, for that parent right there that doesn't know how to do anything but have babies, well, we're going to have to get those people into an environment where they're going to have to be trained. We're not going to sit there and let them teach their children their crazy ways. We get them out of the house if they're not doing anything but walking down the street, picking up trash or doing something. They're not just going to be able to share able-bodied. They're not going to be just hanging around. Now, the people that have a wherewithal, because after you get that for a while, the people get tired of that stuff. They will say, I need to get out of this. I need to figure out something, because they will get tired of being told what to do all the time and not getting anything for it. But you got to put that pressure on them. Well, our focus is on the child. We're not worried about those people because they've got their mind already set. And you cannot convince somebody to do something they don't want to do. But with a child, you go to that child and you train that child. So we're going to be here in the homes working with the children from before they go to school in the preschool, constantly teaching them who they are, the history of their people, teaching them about Mother Africa, teaching them about Luxor, teaching them about Imhotep, teaching them about our family in the pyramids, having them understand they are descendants of kings and queens that have been through a tremendous ordeal, and that now the new day is here, and they are the future, and we are training them up so that they will be the kings and queens that will rule this world. We're starting with those little children before they're born, making sure they learn 2 and 3 different languages, starting from the very beginning, before they learn to read and write. We're going to teach them foreign languages. Now, we're going to work with those children, not only there, but we're also going to be working with the children in the middle school, because we lose most of our children in middle school. Now, this idea that you're not an adult till you're 21, we're changing that. When we got our program, we're going into the schools with the My Brother's Keeper agenda. We're starting at 12 years old. We tell the children it's time for you to have your rites of passage, because we know when you enter puberty, you are basically entering adulthood. And we're going to teach those children. There are 3 important things you need to learn. Some people call it critical thinking, but we're teaching the children what they can understand. We're saying 3 things you need to understand. You need to set priorities. In other words, you need to have a direction and a goal. You know where you're going in life. At least you have an idea where you want to go. Number 2, you need to look at your options. You need to look around and see what choices and chances you have that are available in your life. And number 3, you need to learn how to make intelligent decisions about those things. Because what you do today is going to affect tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So we want you to constantly be understanding that decisions you make are important, and you got to make them. You can't just walk through life letting people tell you what to do. You can't just walk through life being obedient. You got to be on your toes, and you got to be focused, and you got to live your life, because you are a piece of a puzzle. You are unique. You are not a piece of you're not a cookie cutter where everybody's exactly the same. You're not the same. So be yourself, who you are. We're going to encourage them. We're going to motivate them. We're going to inspire them to be creative, to be who they are. We're going to start with our children, and we're going to work with them at that level, from the elementary to middle to high school students. And we're going to have the high school kids relating to the middle school kids and elementary kids. We're going to have the college kids relating to those. We're going to break down this whole generation gap. But we don't need that. That's a white mindset, a European mindset to keep us divided. We're going to let our little kids know that one day you're going to be like grandma and grandpa, so keep that relationship going. Understand that you're going to be like big brother, big sister, like mama, like daddy, like aunt, uncle, and granddaddy and grandmama. So this is a continuous line, and you need to understand all aspects of that as you grow so that you won't be confused along the way. And you need to understand that who you are in your genes, and the scripture says that in those days I will bring to your remembrance all things whatsoever you have forgotten. So in our genes, those are the same genes that Imhotep had, those same genes that those pyramid builders had. Those genes are in us today. That same knowledge and understanding, that spirit is in us. But we have to revitalize that. We have to wake it up. And that's what we're going to do with the process of inspiring those children to be creative and developing, growing on their own. Now, we're going to work with them. Now, as far as those adults that are confused, we're going to work with them too. But our focus is going to be on the children. Because the children who have not been manipulated, the children who have not been confused and misdirected, those are the ones we're going to work with. And for that purpose, I use this example of the toothpaste. Now, when I did my research on toothpaste and I found out what I did about fluoride, I would go and I'd talk to adults, our adults, black adults, and I would ask them this question. If you discovered your toothpaste had poison in it, would you continue to use that toothpaste or would you switch brands? Half of them would say, I'd switch. Oh, half of them. Sometimes a little more than half, but at least half under any circumstances. But the rest of them, they would have various answers. Some of them would say, all toothpaste has poison in it. Some of them would say, well, I spit it out. Some of them would say, I didn't know that. Some would say, I don't believe that. Some would say, well, I got to research it. Now, when you go to ask, those are the same people you talk about who got their mindset all screwed up. You know, Harriet Tubman said she freed 1,000 slaves, and she could have freed 1,000 more if they realized they were slaves. Well, some of those people, those she's talking about, in that mindset, that welfare mentality, their warped minds, they're already set in their mind. You can change some of them, but most of them, they are in that lock set, and you're wasting your time. The scripture says, cast not your pearl before the swine. So we're not going to focus on them. But we go to the children. I told you about when I asked the parents that question, the adults that question, what they said. So I go to the school, and I ask the children the question. I said, children, if you discovered your toothpaste had poison in it, would you continue to use it or would you switch? Every child I ask that question to has the same answer. I would switch. No questions about it. See, they are ready for the truth. But the adults that have been indoctrinated by the system, who have their warped minds, their warped mentalities, they're already there. They've already been confused. They're already indoctrinated. You know, there's an old saying, you used to have an old song that says, give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. It's good enough for mama. It's good enough for papa. It's good enough for yada. It's good enough for me. They're telling you that what has been is okay. Those people, their minds are warped. They've been programmed. You have to deprogram them. But those tender, fertile minds that have not been warped yet, that's where the future is. That's why we have a 50-year plan. Because, see, we are educating those children from the time that they're 5 and 6 and 7. For 50 years, we're educating them. So by the time that they're our age, they'll all know the truth. Now, imagine if they all know the truth, imagine how their children are going to be and their children's children. So, even though we understand that there is a lost generation, we're not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We're not going to kick those people to the curb. We're going to give them a chance. We're going to work with them. We're going to provide for them. We're going to help them. We're going to work with them by having organizations to come in and work with them, train them, teach them, have them doing things, teach them new skills, figure out whatever they can do, teach them how to sew, teach them how to cook. A lot of our young sisters out here having babies don't even know how to cook. How are you going to raise a baby and you don't know how to cook food? You got to go to McDonald's or Burger King to feed your child. We got a lot of people we need to teach them agrarian sciences. We got farmers all over that we're negotiating with right now to put together a network so that when they produce their produce, we got a network of trucks to pick that produce up and take it to our community, to these food deserts, and put that food on market so they can sell it. They can produce the food, but they don't have a market for it. Well, we've developed a market to take that food and put it in places where it can be used. We want to teach our children. I told you the example about the toothpaste.
But Brother Yonah, we come down to the bottom of the first hour. I need to take one little quick break, and then when we come back, we can take up.
Do your thing, brother.
All right.
Now, what's happening in all the urban cities across America is that you got a process in place right now in urban redevelopment. They're using 5 techniques that totally wipe you out. One is called gentrification. They're going into all these major cities that used to be majority black populated cities, and they are erasing you. In places like Detroit, Michigan, New York, Boston, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. used to be the chocolate city. When I went there with President Carter in 1976, at that time, Washington, D.C. was 78% black. Now it's down to about 42% black. Wow. Chocolate City is gone. Detroit, Michigan is going to be totally wiped out by immigrants pouring into the society. Since 1970 up to now, we've had 45 million immigrants coming to the United States. They came in over you, and they're displacing you. And then the second term they use besides gentrification to wipe you out is a thing they call privatization. You go into Detroit, Michigan, as they gentrify, they're going to take all the public resources and things that should be owned by the public, they're going to place them through privatization to the hands of the wealthy whites. Whites are going to buy your golf courses, your subway systems, your bridges, your tunnels. They're going to control your airports, your parks, your museums. Why? Again, because Anderson says, he who owns and controls the resources got the power. If you own and control nothing, you are totally, absolutely useless and expendable. And that's why nothing has changed for us, because we don't understand the system of gentrification and privatization. The other thing they're using to wipe you out in those cities is called metropolitan forms of government, where now they're going to do regional form of government, which means that the whites in the suburbs can come into those black cities and set up some kind of consortium to control what goes on inside those cities so they can extract the resources out of them. Another concept they use in those cities is called cool cities, which says cool cities means bring in the gays and let them replace black folk. And that's the fourth scheme they use on you. And in Detroit, Michigan, using that as an example again, the governor there has already set up in movement a system where he wants to go to the President of the United States, Obama, and ask him for a green card system where he can start importing Chinese from China to make Detroit, Michigan the biggest Chinatown in the United States. Even though that city had a 90% black population, they're going to bury blacks in Detroit, Michigan, underneath Asians coming into Detroit. And already in Detroit, Michigan, in Dearborn, right on the outskirts of Detroit, Arabs own 90%. 90% of all the businesses in the city of Detroit are owned by Arabs. Arab and 90% black population must go to the Arabs to get what they want in terms of food, medicine, clothing. Because they own out of the gas stations. You got 146 gas stations in Detroit, Michigan. Arabs now own 144 in a black city. Blacks own 2 gas stations out of 146. You own nothing. The rest, the hotels, are owned, and the 7-Elevens are owned by Indians. Asians are owning the laundries. The laundries. They're owning the hair and wig shops, the nail shops. Blacks own nothing in a 90% black city. And that's why now Detroit went into poverty. That's why it was declared bankrupt. Because blacks had money. Blacks had about 11 or 12 billion a year annual disposable amount of money passing through their hands. They were going out to the suburbs, spending it in the suburbs, and spending it with the Arabs and the Asians, the Hispanics, and everybody else. And when I tried to put in a plan there for black folk, they said it was racist for me to try to help black folk. They said, yes, Dr. Anderson, we admit in this town that we have an Asian town, a Chinatown, a Pole town, a hockey town, a Cork town, a Mexican town, and a Greek town, but it's racist for you to try to do something for black folk, to build a black town. And guess what the black leadership said? They sure is right. And if you want to find out if I'm telling a lie or not, you got blacks sitting right in this auditorium that was there. You got right here on the front row, 2 here, you got Rosie Milligan that was there and spoke in Detroit. And I had over 1,000 blacks come across America and say, we will move and relocate our business to Detroit to build a black community, a black business district. We'll move our businesses into Detroit. Over 1,000 of them. And guess what? The town got scared and fighting. And they told black folks, no, we don't. It's racist for Anderson to come in and not include everybody and everything. And so that ended that effort. And so that's why Detroit failed. So what I'm saying to you is anything that's happened to black folk in this country can continue to happen, but it is not by accident. You all have to understand today that you're locked into a social construct. That social construct was put in place almost 300 and 400 years ago. You're locked and boxed. You're locked and boxed. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you that nobody else tells you. You're locked and boxed because of the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. You're locked and boxed. We got black leaders who can't figure that out. You go read the Constitution, it tells you straight up front what's going to happen to black folk. You're locked into it. That is a social construct that says in this country, that in the Constitution, which was approved in 1789, it says that this is a white nation. The first immigration law in 1791, spell it out. It is a white nation for white Europeans and other white people classified as white. And black folk are now going to be a permanent underclass. Not a permanent class, they will be an underclass. You will be classified as 3/5 of a human being. You will be classified as property. You will be classified as property and 3/5 of a human being. You would not be permitted to do things that everybody else could be permitted to do. And in the Constitution, it's spelled out, and black folks don't know this. The people in New York, in Philadelphia, met for a whole week. They closed all the windows and all.
Okay. In the words of the illustrious brother Malcolm X, the only individual that can free you is you. Brother Yonah Bey, we back.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. You heard Dr. Claude Anderson echoing some of the same things I've been saying earlier. And that's why, it's so important. Everything he said is true. That's why it's so important for us to stand up our own nation. Now, see, there's a master plan that's going on. You remember I said earlier, people call me Buck. If Buck means Black Unity Coordinator, it also means building universal consciousness. Now, universal consciousness is just what it says, the consciousness of this universe. See, this universe has a plan. We were the original people on this planet. And even though there is a criminal element, there's a vicious, cruel element that's trying to destroy us, the universe will not let it happen. If you read in the scripture, he said that he would take you one from a family and two from a city. He said that he would scatter us throughout all the nations. He's also said that we would be pushed to the brink of destruction. He said, but I would not let you be destroyed. I will save a remnant. Well, all of that things you don't understand, but let me explain to you. These people, in their own selfish greed, they set up a plan whereby they were trying to take over everything and everybody, and they caused this mortgage meltdown. Well, when they did that, they did not realize they were playing into the hands of the Almighty, that they were playing into the universal plan. Because here's what happened. When that mortgage meltdown happened, we got a president by the name of Barack Obama. Now, before he was elected, they knew that they had to do something because this was just like he said, all this stuff has been planned. It was mapped out. The reason they had that mortgage meltdown was so that they could artificially appreciate the property values and then dramatically decrease them overnight and force everybody into bankruptcy and get to a situation where they could pick up the land for little or nothing. So, in that process, when they did that, in order to save it, they had to give the incoming president some authority to buy debt. That's the only way they could save the country. And that's how Barack Obama manage to save the country and get us out of that mortgage meltdown. They gave him $16 trillion in authority to buy debt so he could save us. Now, he gave all that money to Wall Street, but he didn't give it all to Wall Street. Now, he uses that money at a rate of $16 billion a month. $865 billion a month. Now, he still has $7 trillion of authority left. Now, when he went to the United Nations in 2009, the first time he spoke to them, he told them, he gave them a list of 10 preeminent humanitarian issues in America. Number one was institutionalized systemic racism. And number two was the failings of a dysfunctional criminal justice system. Now, he went on down the line, but those two were the two I'm going to work with tonight. Now, as a result of that, remember I said earlier about he put out something called MBA, My Brother's Keeper, My Brother's Keeper, My Brother's Keeper, and that program was designed to educate our people. Because remember I said, the problem is we don't have information, we don't have knowledge. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, so we're not worried about the adults. We start with the children. That was what his plan said. Our children need to go to school and be trained and educated from the cradle to college to career in the crime-free environment. So we're addressing that. In order to do that, we have to have jobs because we got to put these kids in good environment, good homes. The homes have to be no lead in the homes. They need to have good air conditioning. They have to have good ventilation. They need to be properly insulated. They have to have clean, straight floors, carpeting. They need to have a good heating system. They need to have good windows. All of those things. They have good lawns. That is business. We're looking at putting $50,000 in every one of those homes with those children going. We're not doing this for the adults. We're doing this for the children. Make sure the children have a good environment so we can educate them and teach them properly. Now, keep in mind, when Obama set up his legislation, his big legislation drive, which was the Affordable Care Act, which we call Obamacare, Republicans hated that. When he tried to push through his job bill, they pushed back. Well, as a result of that, the money that he was going to spend to fix Main Street through the jobs bill, they shut down. So the money he was going to spend, he didn't spend. It was sitting on his desk. So with those two things he said, with the criminal and justice system, we're looking now at going in and buying prisons, and we're telling people, listen, whatever you're paying for those prisons to maintain those people, we can save you money because we can do it better. We can do it for less. And while we got these people in those prisons, we're going to train them. We're going to educate them so when they come out, they've got a job waiting for them. And we know they'll have a job waiting because we're preparing it for them. We don't want to send people to jail, and then when they come out, they'd have no job. Because, that's nothing but a swinging door, a revolving door. They're going to have to go back to prison because if you can't take care of yourself, you got to steal. You got to do something wrong. So we're going to prepare them. We're going to train them so they have jobs waiting for them when they get out. Now, in addition to that, when we look at what's happened, now before he leaves office, we've already I told you earlier, we have a $5 trillion budget. We've already mapped it out. We're still finishing up the details. We're meeting with his Treasury Secretary in March. We've been meeting with her every quarter. We have the meeting. So we've laid out the strategy. Now, before he leaves office, that's what people out here who like to talk about reparations. Mm-hmm. We could never get reparations through this country because, like he said, you already heard what Claude Anderson said. They've got it written down. This is a contract country. This is a business, and they have no intention of giving that money up. They're not going to do it. They're going to deny it. However, because President Obama already has the authority sitting on his desk, all we have to do is get all you people to sign on to the program where you see what we're doing and understand it, that as a people we can go and say, listen, the problem of systemic racism and the problem of the faulty criminal justice system, we don't expect you to fix it. But what we do expect you to do is put the funding out there. We'll fix it ourselves. We're not going for reparations because reparations is a hot-button issue. There's too much confusion around it. What we want to do is we want to use quantitative easing, the same thing that you use when you bailed out those banks. This time you're going to bail out Main Street. And since everybody knows that we suffer the most, and it's not our fault, we didn't create the system. The government created this 1%. It's been created for us. It's on the books. You know that it happened. So we are going to solve the problem. We can get rid of this affirmative action. We can deal with all of that. We need to do this, so we need to solve it ourselves. And in order to do that, we need this money through quantitative easing, because the programs that they wouldn't let you do with the road work program and with those infrastructure programs, all those bridges that everybody knows crumbling that they wouldn't let you spend the money on, you give us the money, we're going to hire our engineers, because we do have the talent, and we've quantified it. We already have it documented. We can prove it, and we have everything in place. We're going to go ahead and we'll do it, and we're going to make sure that our people are the prime movers. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to exclude other people. And as long as Wall Street gets their cut, Wall Street don't give a damn who does the work. Wall Street just wants to get their cut. So we're going to let Wall Street get their cut, and we're going to control these infrastructure programs. We're going to build these roads. We're going to build these bridges. We're going to go ahead and take these housing programs. We're going to build these prisons that they wanted to build for our people. We're going to build them because they're in our communities. But when they're not going to just be warehouses, they're going to be institutions of learning where these people come out with the knowledge and skill and understanding of how to integrate back into society. And we're going to have these housing structures built, these apartment complexes that are sitting over there and nobody's doing anything with. We're going to train people to go in and learn the construction trade by renovating them. When they finish, then we can take these people coming out of prison, so when they come out, they got a place to live. We're going to take these farms where they grow all this fresh fruits and vegetables, and we're going to put up some healthy food stores in those centers so that people have access to good, healthy food while they come back into society. Now, when we put that document on the
let me hold on 1 second. Let me bring this other caller in that may have a question for you. I'm opening up the line at area code 678. 678, you're on the air.
Hey, good evening. This is Harley Griffin calling from Atlanta. What's up, Yonah?
Hello, Griffin. How about yourself?
Hey, man. Couple questions.
All right.
The one thing that concerns me is brothers coming out of prison. That's great. What can we do? What can be done? Thoughts can we throw on the table about getting these cats that have felonies, minor little criminal records, to where they're able to vote again? Because that's a big factor in America, is that these cats come out. It's one thing to put them to work, but they've got to be able to have a voice as well. And that's something that we've got to convey throughout the entire nation. That has to be done in our community to deal with the whole political realm. The other thing is I'm a part of a group called AC. That's Americans for Economic Equity. Americans for Economic Equity. And we have filed a complaint with the Federal Highway Administration over the misuse of the Title VI program. I won't get into all of that tonight, but we'll definitely pick this up on another call on that piece. But one of the things, I'm an engineer, and just to let you know what is happening in Georgia, to give you guys just a quick glimpse, we have major projects going on in Georgia. Whereas you have professional services, which is on the design side, and you have construction services. What is happening with the state of Georgia? The state of Georgia is meeting its DBE participation goals, not through skilled labor. And that's dealing with African Americans who can lay pipe, African Americans who can pour concrete, who can do roadway work, etc. They're meeting it with the general contractors in Georgia through trucking. Which is cutting out black skilled labor in those areas that I just mentioned. And that's something else that we need to talk about. And I'm sure the same thing is probably happening on the West Coast. I know it's happening in the Baltimore, D.C. area, and it's definitely happening throughout the entire Southeast. But going back to my question, y'all, how do we bridge the gap to get these cats to where they can vote again and get involved in the system with their voice?
You know, I got to commend you, Brother Harley, for bringing that question up. That's one that has been bantered around, and we're trying to work through that. However, that is as important as it is. And everybody, rest assured, we understand the importance of that question. We want to deal with that. We need to bring people to the table who can address that, because that is a political issue that must be addressed, as he said. Because once a man has paid his fine, he's paid his dues, he should have his rights restored. Now, in some countries, in some states, they do that, and it should be automatic. But sometimes you have to apply for it. So we need to go ahead and make sure, and one of the things that we're doing with our program is once we stand this up, we'll be able to address that, because we'll have the kind of authority that we can speak and get that done. You remember Claude Anderson said that, number one, what you have to do is you have to build your economic base. And once you get your economic base, that you then buy the politicians. If you can't buy them, then you rent them. And so that's how we address that concern. Because just like, classic example, I'll go back to this thing, we talk about the meat, or we talk about, like I said, even fluoride in our water, fluoride in our toothpaste. Fluoride is a toxic waste. But how did it get in our toothpaste? How did I get it in our water? Well, Alcoa needed a way to dispose of it. So they bought off some politicians, and they paid them, and they paid them to dispose of their toxic waste by putting it in our water, putting it in our toothpaste. And, because it is a cumulative effect, and it takes years for it to affect you, they, just like you said, they want to get rid of us. Well, they put it in our food products. They put it in our water, and it doesn't kill you overnight. It's a slow-acting poison. So instead of living 90 years, you live 60 or 55, and you die, and nobody knows. They call it old age, but it's because of cumulative poisoning. So, those are genders that need to be addressed. And the way we address that is by building our economic base so that we can then get our politicians in office. When the election process is a two-step process. When you vote for people, that's the tail end. That's kind of like we talk about the criminal justice situation. The problem is not the criminal. The problem is the pre-criminal, the ones that evolve into criminals. So how do we, the juvenile delinquents? So how do we affect that change? Well, in order to affect that, we need to get down to where we can actually make sure that the people that are running for office are people that we want to run. Because it doesn't matter if somebody gives you three people to vote from, and you have no way to determine who those three are, it don't make no difference who you vote for. Because if he picks the three people, all three of them, or he owns all three of them, so what difference it makes if I vote for one, two, or three? But if we can nominate our own people and make sure our people are up there, now we got somebody to vote for who has our best interests at heart. So that's what we got to do. We have to be on the front end where we make sure the people that are actually running for office in those primaries, that those people are our people. So when they run, they are going to do what we want them to do. Okay, so that's how we handle that. On the other hand, we're talking about this situation with the AEE and all those problems. Again, those are issues that we can address, because what we're doing is, he's talking about those contracts that are bid. Now, right here in Atlanta, we got a black mayor. Right downtown, they're building that big dome, that big stadium. You think black people got that contract? No. Oh, and we're looking right here, right down. They talk about doing this Black Mile right down, taking Zion City. They want to come down there and do all this construction up there, and everybody's talking about we got a black mayor and yada yada yada. Those contracts are not going to black people. They're going to wealthy people who are paying off and getting things done behind the scenes. So by the time they come up and tell you about these contracts, by the time they tell you what's going on, all of the homework's been done. It's baked in the cake. So you go up there and, like you said, you get the crumbs. You get the trucking job, you get this, and they shut you out of a really big contract. Well, see, what we're doing is we're going to the point where we actually get the entire contract, and then we sub it out to who we want. That's how we get our people like Harley, who is a civil engineer. You get people like him involved, and because you got to have some clout. Because, like you said, they're shutting out. But you heard Claude Anderson say a minute ago, they got it baked in the cake before you get there. You got to remember, these people are planning hundreds of years ahead. So every 50 years, they got a plan. So for you to come up here and try to figure out how to solve this problem next week, next month, next year, you're not going to do it, because they already got everything set up. And they even got it planned so when you come in, they got a something to lead you down the rosy path to make you think you're getting something. When you get to the end of the road, you're like, well, how did I get here? You know the way adage about that girl that went in and say, she went in and told the guy, he said, where you coming? He said, I come here to get F'd, you know. I want to come here and get some rhythm. I want you to give me, you know, this sex. And she said, okay, give me your money. He gave her the money, and she said, come right this way. He followed her down the hall. She got there, and she said, go through that door. So he walked out the door. When he got out the door shut behind him. He looked around, there's a big sign up. It said, you have just been F'd by. Well, that's the kind of game they play with us. So we have to make sure that we are ahead of the curve. Now, when I was telling you earlier about this training program and everything we talk about in terms of how we need to make sure that we got these careers for our people that when they come out of jail. And I will not forget, and Harley said a very, very important thing. We do have to focus on that issue of voting. But what we are doing and what we're talking about, standing up a nation, and Harley, really I need to introduce him to Hersh Daniels, who is an oceanographer. He mapped the sea. They found that we have seamounts around Bermuda. And we've already negotiated a contract. It's okay with them. We got some international waters out there where we're going to build up our own nation. It will be the Commonwealth of the African States. That's going to be the name. That's the tentative name at this point. And we'll stand up our own nation. We'll have our own standing army. We have our own standing navy. At present, we've already got arranged to make 2 ships. The 2 ships we got so far are the SS Marcus Garvey, and the SS Geronimo. They were having the American flags, but they're our ships. They'll be used for cruise trips. They'll be used to transport people to tours around the world, and they're also function as cargo ships. They'll bring our cargo back. Remember, we said we're going to invest money in Africa because when you deal with Africa, you're talking about people that have 15 to 20 times exchange rate. So when you're talking about people that live on $1 a week, or some of them $1 a month, or $5 a month, whatever. With that people living on that kind of wages, we can set up our manufacturing plants in those communities, and those people will be very, very happy to make $10 a month. That's like doubling, even sometimes tripling their income. They'll manufacture good quality products because they know they're making it for their brothers and sisters across the water. And we set those back. They got regular jobs. We're going to go and build infrastructure programs for them. We're going to build their roads. We're going to set up their towers for their communication network. We're going to build their infrastructure for their water towers. We're going to build all their waterworks, their sewer system, build their housing projects, and do it properly. In one country, I can't remember which one it was, they had some people, they asked them to come over and they built a road, and they built it and looked great until a big rain came in and washed it all out because they didn't know what they were doing. Well, we know how to do it, so we're going to go over and do those and solve those problems. And then we can bring these products that are manufactured in that country for very, very low prices. We can bring them back here, and we can set up our own infrastructure to market those products to our people. And our people can buy our products from our people at a very, very good price, good quality price. So they don't have to go to Macy's. They don't have to go to Saks.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, Brother Yonah. That is super. The things that you all got going. I think that at this point, what do you think that a brother standing right where he is right now need to be doing as an individual? Because when it boils down to it, the entire thing that you laid out is super, fantastic, wonderful, but they need to know how can they get started, and not only that, what do I need to do personally as a man to remain consistent until I see fruit there? Leave this rock. It's going to benefit my family.
The things that we're doing is, number one, if somebody wants to know what to do, the first thing they need to do is they need to go to the website. It's au6.info. That's au, the number 6.info. You go there. That website has been set up. It just recently set up. It's going to be improved over time, but right now it's where we're starting. It tells you about the first thing we're doing with sending these sisters to the Business of Africa at University of Cincinnati. It also tells you about the history of our program. It also tells you how to contact me, the chairman, Herschel, and other people, where you can get information. Now, you got to stay current on what's going on because things are happening fast. Now, keep in mind, I told you earlier we're going to go on tour. When we do this tour is going to be extremely well publicized. In every city that we're in, we're going to be publicized in the next 4 cities we're going to. And when we leave a city, we're going to leave a footprint behind so they're constantly talking about it, and well as where we were and where we are going. You know, like right now, you hear about, when you see how everybody's talking about the election, you hear about Donald Trump, you hear about Hillary Clinton, you hear about Bernie, yada, yada. Well, we're going to have that kind of media campaign going on in our community. Everybody's going to be talking about this. Everybody. So we're going to keep the word going. We're not going to let it die now. Now, as every black man, I'm going to tell you, one of the things we're doing, we're calling on every black man to stand up. Put your money where your mouth is. We got the plan. We got the program. We're not talking about problems. We talked about problem. We're tired of going to meetings. We're tired of marching. We are doing it. We are doing it. If you're ready to act, and you get busy. You can't get out there and get busy with it. You can do it back with your mouth. Put $100 a month. We get 1 million people, 1 million men put up $100 a month, and we can move forward while we're moving our program. Then you get involved. Once you become involved, you become a part owner. So with all this grows and develops, you are a part of this. We're not dealing with donations. So there is a donation process. If you want to donate some money, please do. But we want people to understand this is not just donating, you know. And so just so people understand the difference between donating, buying, and investing. When you donate something, you just give the money for whatever purpose. You give it, and that's it. It's gone. You did it for a good purpose. It's gone. You don't worry about it coming back. You may be able to write off on your taxes, but that's it. That's a donation. When you buy something, you give your money up, but you get something in exchange for it, whatever it may be. It may be a greater value or less value. Usually it's of less value when you spend your money, but you purchase something. You should get something in exchange. That's when you buy. When you invest, and this is the one thing we need to get our people to understand, because our people don't know how to do it. When you invest, not only do you not lose your money, but your money grows. You get it back. You get it back on a regular basis. You get a residual income. Your money that you put out there keeps coming back to you. You know, Scripture says, cast your bread upon the water, and it shall return to thee manyfold. That's what we're talking about. Talking about investing your money. So we are going to show our people how to invest. And how are we going to do that? Me personally, I got this toothpaste. When you buy this toothpaste, that money is going back in our community. It's going to our children's education. It'll go into your pocket. We have a program set up where when you buy the toothpaste, there come a point in time when not only you start getting returns on it, but you get toothpaste the rest of your life for free because you own the company when you buy into it. We got Brother Camos up there in Baltimore. You got Freedom Paper. That's our paper company. You buy that product for X number of days. After you buy so much of that paper product, you now own enough of that company where you get your paper products the rest of your life for free. So we're talking about an investment. When you own your businesses, whenever we own, whatever we put out for our people, we want our people to understand that by investing in it, when you own it, then you increase. You keep recycling your money. It grows not only for you but for your children. You leave something behind for your children. Right now, think about it again. Every time you make $100, everybody gets 98% of it. 98 cents, you get 2. You're doing it all your life. So when your children grow up, you ain't got nothing to give them. We're going to change that dynamic. We're not just going to double it or triple it. We're going to quadruple. We need to be up in the 75, 80% of that money to be in our community, in our pocket. Can you imagine that? Think about that. We're talking about setting up a situation where instead of us getting 2 cents of every dollar, where we are getting 75, 85, 95 cents on every dollar. I know some people look at that and say, wow, that's around.
Well, you know what? I have to agree with you. And I got 6 main principles that I personally use, and I try to, from time to time, get brothers and sisters to understand that. And I figured out, based on the conversations, the intimate conversations that I would have with, even if I go to the barber shop or if I'm out and about, I would ask these questions because I took a survey in my community, outside my community, and I would ask people, could you tell me what is the difference between an asset and a liability? And they begin to run off things, but then I would ask them, is your car an asset? And they would tell me, yeah. Do you consider your home an asset? They would tell me, yeah. So I would explain to them the difference between an asset and a liability. The second thing is, if you do the work and you got paid, who's the first person to get paid? You. Not the light man, not the red man, nobody but you. You had to get paid first. So, earn $100, I'm going to pay myself $10 out of every 100. That's put to the side. It's not going to hurt anything. That's toward investment. Then we deal with self-education. Self-educated man is very, very. Then we deal with self-creation. Using your mind to create things. Using your ideas to bring to fruition. Number 5, learn what time is and how to control it. And number 6, above all, always own your own company so that you be the boss. And now you got some freedom. You got some principles you're working on, working by and living under. Now you got some things where you're able to do or participate in a lot of the things that you're talking about. And if we understand this as a man, just you, John, you, Willie, you, Margaret, you, Mary, you, Teresa, if you, Carolyn, you, Janice, you, Jim, if this is where you start, you get these things right with you, now we're ready to go. Number 1, learn the difference between asset and liability. Number 1, pay yourself first. Number 3, self-education. Number 4, self-creation. America's come to the conclusion that people of African descent ain't creating nothing. So, therefore, they are worthless. There was a time we ain't had automobiles, but somebody decided that we needed one. Never seen one before, brought it into existence. Then they say, well, we can fly. Everybody say, well, if God wants us to fly, he gave us wings. They ain't stopping, ain't listening to that. They kept on going. Chairs, furniture, shoes, toothpaste. Time. Master of your time and own your own company. I just wanted to interject those. But I yield the floor, brother.
Brother, see, one of the things that I understand and know about universal consciousness, spirituality brings us together. And see, I have no problem yielding the floor when there's something valuable being presented. See, the thing we have to understand is that we are not individuals walking alone. We are all parts of this big, beautiful puzzle. And once we understand that, then we realize that all of us has a part to play. So long as we play that part, and when somebody's ready to play their part, you don't try to get in the way. You let that person do what they got to do. And everything you just said is wonderful. I love you. I believe in everything what you said. I go right back now to what Brother Kareem said earlier about teaching people who had a certain mindset, and you couldn't, you could take the nigger out of the country, you couldn't take the country out of the nigger. Well, my whole point is that that's true for some people, but you can't say that's true for everybody. And so we have to understand that we have to use discernment to realize that just because some people are that way don't mean everybody's that way. With these all-black organizations, I tell them, yes, I'm black in my heart, I'm African as I can be, but guess what I know? I know that some people got black skin, but their mind is white. They're European. I'm not stuck on saying the way you look is what goes by. I'm saying I may start off by what you look like, but it's how you act and how we interact that really makes a difference. You see a good-looking woman and you want to be with her, but if you get with her and you find out she ain't right, you got to walk on past her. So, the things that you talked about, when you say about time is the only thing that we all have in equal measure. Everything else is different. We all got the same amount of time. And it's how you apply that time, how you use that time that makes the difference in your life, how you apply that time. Now, we'll think about what we talk about with doing investments and things like that. And I talk about all these things, and it sounds good. But I understand one thing. Having been, I was never really homeless, but on 2 occasions I was for 2 days. One day I was homeless in New York. One day I was homeless in Chicago. So 2 days of my life I was homeless. But that's as long as it lasted because I immediately made something happen. Now, I understand that there are people who, when they get paid, as much as they want to pay themselves, they're in a situation where that everything they got's already gone, and they can't figure out how to pay themselves. Just like Brother Kareem was talking about, that sister, they gave her everything, but she didn't get trained. She didn't get properly oriented to know how to make that happen. So what we have to do is we want to present situations, like I said, with these products that we own. Those of us who have the ability to set up these businesses and industries, we have to set them up in such a way that we provide our products and services to these people. And since they're so busy giving their money to other people, we just want to let them give it to us. Because then we know that in our hearts we're going to take care of them because they're still our family. The fact that they're crazy or mixed up or was raised and full of crime or they're drunk or crack addict or whatever they are, they're still our family. We ain't gonna.
Okay, well let me bring in the other caller. We got one at 205 and we got another one at 513. And oh my goodness, we got another at 314. So I'm gonna bring these callers in.
Bring them on in.
I ask y'all to go ahead and ask your question as I open up the lines. Area code 205. You're on the air.
Well, peace and love, everybody. Name is Saladin. I used to live in Chicago, lived in Cleveland for a while, and now I'm back in Alabama.
Peace and blessings, brother.
All right, brother. Peace and love to you all of you. Valor Macon, too. What I want to say was concerning voting. I have an article, and I got a lot of literature, where the Ku Klux Klan say, you can vote all you want to vote as long as we count the votes. Now, what are we going to do about that?
First off, brother, thank you for coming on the call. Thank you for your question. I want you to do something. First off, I want you to go to the website. I'm just talking about au6.info. I want you to send me an email. Go to info area and just send me an email. Keep in touch so you can keep abreast of what we're doing on. We want to do some business in Alabama. Now, everything you said about them counting the votes, well, when we go down there, when we come there, and we got the money, and we investing in that community, and we own that community, we'll be there to stand up our own army. You have to understand this is a long-term plan. We're not just going to go ahead and do this next week and it's going to be over with. It's going to take us 3 years to get the nation built up, where we have our own nation. Now, you got to remember that when I told you earlier about Obama set out his 21st century policing initiative. That lines out with how to control the police. If we control the police, then the Ku Klux Klan want to count the votes. We can bring our police in, our official police that have United Nations status, because we are going to say we are making peace as profitable as war as part of our program. We can come in and say, no, you don't get to count the votes. We're going to count them. That's something that we have to do, and that is not a short-sighted goal. It's a long-term goal. It takes infrastructure. It also takes a network, it takes building, and it takes unity. Above all, it takes unity. You know, when the unions used to effect change, the way that unions affected change was everybody decided none of us is going to work for that wage. And the businesses had to pay them a living wage. And when the Ku Klux Klan stands up and yells and screams and all they want to, today, this is not, even I know in some areas, in backwoods areas, people think it is. And those people that have that mindset that they haven't figured out yet, it's going to be difficult to change them. So we're not going to work on changing them. I told you a minute ago, they walked those Israelites around in the wilderness for 40 years. 40 years they walked them around to get that old mindset out. Well, with our program, our teaching program, we start with the children. and we begin teaching the children, and we bring them up all the way for the next 50 years. We teach and train them. We talk about a program that we're going to be working on consistently to change a problem that's existed in this country since its foundation. So it's going to take time, but it's going to take soldiers. And the first thing we need people to understand what I was going to say a minute ago about when people work and they come home and they want to invest and they got nothing to invest. They don't have any money. Same thing we're talking about right there in Alabama. People want to go up and change those votes, and they don't have any own. They don't own anything, so they can't expect any change. Nobody cares. So once those people own the land, once they own the property, once they own the bank, once they own the feed store, and they own the clothing store, and they own their own food sources, and their shoes are coming from their manufacturing plants. The clothes they buy are theirs. And they own the police department. Then when the Ku Klux Klan say, we want to count the votes, they say, no, you don't. We account.
I'm gonna go to my next caller. Area code 513. You're on the air. 513. Come on in.
Hi, shalom, peace and blessings, family. Listen, I'm listening to you. Peace and blessings. Listening to you talk, and I do definitely believe the collective effort of economics is definitely part of the solution. So I wanted to ask if there's somewhere you can guide me to a list of products that you guys presently offer that I can support and promote. I'm in partnership with a few other individuals in which we have started a virtual marketplace, and we're looking to identify people within our communities that we can be able to support and bring awareness to. Can you direct me?
On our website, au6.info.
au6.info?
au6.info.
I went there, and I didn't. It just,
go to the About Us page or go to the Contact page. When you go to Contact, you're going to see the contact information. Okay. For tonight, I just want you to be able to reach out to us and contact us. We can get you that information. Okay. But
okay, I'm not certain that I did. When I heard you give that website to the gentleman prior to me, and I went to it, and it didn't look like it was actually a website. It was something. It was A as an apple, U as an umbrella, and the number 6.info.
INFO. Yes, you go there. It should say United States of Africa.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I didn't get that. But okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you get it?
Let me try it right now while I'm sitting here in front of you. .info.
You got
okay.
it?
All right, I have it now. Thank you.
All right, you got it. You contact us, and I'll give you a link. Now, sister, remember I said earlier, we are setting up our own phone company. So you'll be able to get your phone service with us. And on our phone, and also if you go to Microsoft, you can get a tablet with our software installed on it. And there will be on there an app that will identify all the black businesses in your community, in your area, wherever you happen to be within your proximity. Hello?
Okay. All right. Well, no, she's got it.
Okay. All right.
Rolling on down. We got a switchboard lighting up down here. I'm going to area code 314. 314. You're on the air. What's your question for our guest? Okay. All right. Okay.
So I was saying
that call dropped.
Okay. Yeah, it happens. People who drive.
Go ahead.
They just do that. But what I was going to say was
they're back. Hold on. They're back. 314. You're on the air.
Peace and blessings, beloved brothers and sisters. I'm not certain who sent me a text message, but I got a text message regarding this conference call tonight. This is Brother Yonah calling from St. Louis, Missouri. And I don't necessarily have a question, but I want to say that I commend you, brothers and sisters, on what you all are doing and trying to accomplish. I'm definitely interested in learning more, so I'll stay online and listen to more about what's being offered as well as the products as well. You all touched on some powerful things, and I'm really just interested in knowing how I can support and we can support each other As I stated, I am in St. Louis, Missouri, and I also have a website, and we're kind of doing some things within the community. So I encourage everyone to also check out ours, our website. We are putting together a database where we are promoting only black businesses, whether they're whatever state they're in. We're promoting black businesses, so we're creating a database on our website as well. We'll be publicizing that information hopefully within the next month or two. But for those that are interested, it's www.humanrights with an S, the letter J, the letter C.com. So it's humanrightsjc.com. And again, this is Brother Yonah, St. Louis.
Okay, brother, let me get you that. You said Human Rights JC, the Human
Rights with an S, Human Rights, and then the letter J and the letter C for Justice Committee. humanrightsjc.com.
Okay, brother, I'm going to urge you to go to our website, the one I just gave the sister there, au6.info. Log in there. We're putting 3 sisters to the Business of Africa School in Cincinnati. We ask people to donate money to support that. We are a chamber of commerce, so we're building businesses all over the country. I have 1 or 2 people in St. Louis, but we'd always need more. I would like to partner with you. We're going to set up our chamber of commerce so that we can help you. We have the ability to leverage wealth. If a person wants to do a business and they've got $50,000, we can leverage that into $200,000 for them.
Absolutely.
So we can do a lot of other things. We have a lot of things we can do, but it takes unity. It takes us working together. And
absolutely.
And so yes, what we got, as I was telling the sister earlier, we've got our own phone company now. So we have our own media. We'll be able to control our media. One of the problems we have is that the media indoctrinates us. It keeps us confused.
I'm clear.
So
we experienced that with the Michael Brown situation here in Missouri. So I am clear on what the media does, what the media will not do, and how it's imperative that we write and create our own narrative, and we tell the people what's really going on within our communities. Just like we need to police the police, we need to police the media, and we need to, put forth our agendas and have monies to back it up. But, brother, I'd love for you to contact me. My number is 314-375-6574, 314-375-6574. Anyone else that's interested, I'm into nation building.
Okay, well.
Okay, wait a minute, brother. I got to ask this question here, and then you can come on back in. Y'all don't stop shooting that over there?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Y'all don't stop shooting over there because y'all were tearing it up, man. What's going on?
Well, what do you mean regarding the rioting?
Yeah, I mean, what's going on? The shooting done stopped, everything done calm down?
I mean, it depends on which lens you're looking at. Again, the media has a tendency of controlling the mass media. But no, I mean, Michael Brown was not the first victim. He was one victim that kind of catapulted into a cesspool of other victims. There's been at least 10 other victims murdered by cops here in St. Louis, Missouri alone since the death and murder of Michael Brown Jr. So you ask a blanket statement, and I'm not certain how to answer that when you say y'all stop shooting. I mean, it's cops shooting unarmed black males. There's black-on-black crime. I'm not an advocate of black-on-black crime, nor am I an advocate of police killing unarmed black men and women. Nevertheless, it's going on. It has not stopped, but the media is not covering that because they have their own agendas, and other people involved surrounding, that movement had other objectives as well, and that's something that you all will probably find out when you go to our website.
Okay,
see, brother,
you answered my question.
Brother, one of the things that we have to understand is that when we have separations, and that's why I keep telling people about unity. You see, back in the day, and I was there, back in the 60s, when people would get killed, by the time you found out about it, it was long past. Today, something happens through the as a result of the technology we have. You can find out about it the next day, even the same day. However,
absolutely,
because of the way they play the media game, they overshadow it with other things to keep your attention, so you forget about it. And now,
absolutely.
What we want to do is we want to, again, connect with our businesses. We want them to know that, hey, if you've got a small business, we want you to keep your small business. But we also want you to do is we want you to acknowledge and be a part of our brand. That way, whenever you go, everybody knows you're a part of our brand. Therefore, when you got something going on, you kick it into the network, everybody knows about it. Even though you're a little top store, you're plugged in, and everybody knows what's going on. So everybody needs to know what's going on in St. Louis. But without that direct connection, we can't keep that information flowing. So that's what we're trying to build. And,
absolutely, and I love the idea. I love the idea what you're talking about, and I think we're definitely in unison with what we're talking about. It, but you know, I'm sorry, but I'm from the Show Me State. I don't just talk about it.
Brother, I just told you.
I'm making it happen.
We set up our own phone company. So when we talk later,
that's commendable.
I want you to be able to control this phone company in St. Louis. So when you go tell people, listen, we all need to switch our service to this Pan-African-owned phone service. Stop giving your money to Verizon, to T-Mobile, to AT&T, or to Cricket, or Virgin Mobile.
Brother, I will support that. If it's legit and it's ours, I will support that wholeheartedly. I will put that on our website. I have no problem with that.
I'm gonna give you another website. When you go to the website that I just gave you, you'll get the background information. Where we go back, we get all of our confirmation for everything we've done. Tonight at 9:00, we've got another call because tonight is our 5th year anniversary for the Friends of the African Union, and we've great to Dubai. Are you familiar with Jim Newsom? Jim Newsom, the digital drummer.
Sounds familiar.
Here's another one of our websites: urbantechfair.org. urbantechfair.org.
Say it again one more time, brother. Give me the website again.
Urban Tech Fair. URBANTECHFAIR.org. urbantechfair.org.
And then the website before that one?
I'm sorry, what?
And then what was the other one before that one?
Another one
the other website.
I'm gonna give you. Another one's ncrc.org. That's National Community Reinvestment Coalition .org. And now there's some other websites, but I don't want to belabor all of them.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, we'll definitely get a chance to talk.
Brother, we stand up our own dollar, brother. We have our own currency. We have our own phone company. We have our own investment bank. We have done all this. We now own Wikipedia. Wikipedia belongs to us. We're doing a peer review to go through and correct everything on Wikipedia.
Oh, well, that's good because there's a lot of folly that's on there right now that we need to correct. So
we're going through the Universal Periodic Review. The African Scientific Institute is going through it. We're bringing librarians on to verify everything. Everything that's inaccurate is going to be taken out, and then we're going to put in everything about the history of our people, the true history, the accurate history. All of it's going to be
brother, I'm with it. I'm with it. I believe in black nationalism. I believe in all of that. And so, again, if it's benefiting our people, I'm there. I'm supporting that.
Brother, SDLC is on board with us. You familiar with WADU, the World African Diaspora Union? They're on board with us.
Yes, sir.
All 4 branches of the UNIACL are with us now. They're bringing all Garvey's papers. We have the SS Marcus Garvey. We're setting it afloat. We're going to have a ship, 2 ships. We've got the SS Marcus Garvey, and we also have the SS Geronimo because we've also partnered with the United Native Americans. So we're bringing everybody to for this. This is all hands on deck. We're talking about $5 trillion. And see, we got to get the word out. People need to know this. October the 16th of this year, we're going to have a vote, and we are going to make our people a nation. This is something that never happened.
Now, when you say currency, and I don't want to take up too much time because I know there's other callers on the line, but when you say we have our own currency, are you speaking about the Bitcoin?
No. The Bitcoin is a different
coming out of Africa.
No, we have an African currency. Our currency is based on the revenue anticipation, based on the minerals and wealth in the ground in different African countries that we have a contract with. Now, our currency is similar. The way we interact, our currency is similar to Bitcoin, but we have a different encryption that makes it more secure. I didn't invent the internet. But I know people who did. I know people that were a part of building the internet. They still have. I know people that have patents on telecommunications that Mom Bell doesn't have. These are brothers that have this, and they've held them. They held on to them because they knew that sometime they're going to be needed, and they're part of our network so that we can stand up what we're doing. Next month, we will have our own Visa card out. When you put your money in our bank, we have the ability now. We have the written. We have the ability to transfer money anywhere in the world for less money than Western Union. See, we've done all this work, and now we're getting ready to stand it up. In a few minutes, the call just started at 9 o'clock, which is our regular nightly call. And if you want to go on that call after this one, the number is 641-715-3580. I give that number again. 641-715-3580. Now, for that one, you need an access code. The access code is 480-688-pound. I get an access code one more time. 480-688-pound. Now, that's our regular call every night at 9 o'clock. Tonight, we're talking about the 5th anniversary of the FAU, and we're going over all the things I'm telling you about on this call. That's our regular call. And we'll be working on that. You'll be able to meet people and what we're doing all across the country. And you'll be able to get involved. Okay?
Well, tonight I won't be able to do that. Dr. Yonah, I need to ask you a question. Now, you say your call number is 641-715-350, access code 480-688.
3580.
35.
715-3580.
3580, and the access code is 480-688-pound.
That's
and
correct.
You say this happens at 9 o'clock. Is this Eastern Standard, Central, or Western Time?
Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much, my brother.
Okay.
Now, I'll be on that call later on, but I'm right here with Brother Tarhaka. I'll be here for a while. But that call just started, and I'll be on that call when I leave here. But back.
What state are you in, big brother?
Thank you. I look forward to talking to you again, my brother. Okay, so back to what we're saying. When our people don't have money to invest, you can't tell a brother, hey, you need to invest your money. He says, I ain't got no money. I want to, but I don't have it. So that's why we have to have our businesses and our industries so that we can give them better prices. And we can give them better quality so it lasts longer. And then we can put a situation where the person can say, listen, you're buying this product from somebody else. Buy it from me, and here's what I'll do for you. You keep buying it from me, and I will give you a refund. At the end of the year, they give you 1%. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to engage you. We'll give you a coupon so that you can start getting the product for less money or you get it for free. But we got to buy other products. So we'll say, hey, you're buying, like right now, you're buying this toothpaste from me. Okay, well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you a coupon for Brother Camo's toilet papers. Now you're buying toothpaste from me, so I'm giving you a pass where you can get some toothpaste. I mean, some paper towels from him. Now you get some free toilet paper because you bought toothpaste from me. Now he's going to give you a free coupon to another brother so you can get a discount on shoes. And that brother will get, so when you do business with us, we're going to make sure that you can do business with somebody else and continually save you money to encourage you. We're not just going to ask you to do it. We're going to encourage you. We're going to make it easy for you to do business with us. And see, that's what we've fallen out in the past. But those are the things we're working on right now. But anyway,
well, let me ask you this. Now, you earlier you mentioned Brother Hindu Henderson. Have you met Hindu Henderson? And what's going on? Could you bring us up to speed on your connection?
I have not personally met Brother Henderson. I've listened to his calls. Brother is incredibly well-versed gentleman, and he's got a lot that he's doing and working with, and he's working in similar manner to what we're doing. Now, Brother Henderson is also uniting people, and they're working with the MAG, which is the Moorish American government, and their issue, what they're doing is they're doing something called, I was going to say quantity, but they're doing something called, they're doing registration, basically letting everybody to to sign up so they can actually do something similar to a plebiscite. Something similar to what we're doing. Ours is strictly economic, but theirs in terms of standing up to people so they can do a census to say these are the people that we have that we can identify and become a nation. And that brother is very powerful, and I recommend anybody who wants to get more information about who we are and the history of our people. He's a very, very good person you should listen to. Dr. Henson, you can Google him, look him up. I don't have his number in front of me. Again, I've talked to him, and he does support our efforts. And he's willing to work with us. He wants us to come together. And see, those are the things. When you talk to people who are conscious, who understand the mission of saving our people, standing up our people, these people, they don't talk about separations. They talk about ways for us to work together to obtain our common goals. And Dr. Henderson has agreed that he understands what we're doing, and we're moving forward strictly on this economic perspective. And they realize that this plan is functional. Now, we have a 5-page document. Anybody who wants more information, when they request it, we send you a 5-page document that lays out for you all the things we're doing. The full document is much larger. There's one that's 800 pages. There's one that's 84 pages. We have almost 110 pages. And then we have one that's just 5 pages. So, each one is more and more detailed. But the 5-page document is what most people need to start at so they can get the overview and understand what we've got on deck. In 2017, they're going to have the World Cup in Bermuda. Well, we have the contract to provide Bermuda with the cruise ships that will provide the apartments, the apartments for the people. Because in Bermuda, they don't have enough hotel rooms to accommodate people. Well, we have the contract to provide them with the cruise ship that will allow them to have the hotel accommodation for the people when they come there. This is big. So these are the kind of things we're doing. Now, what we're going to do is we have Herschel Daniels, an oceanographic technologist, and they've mapped the seafloor, and they've mapped out this land outside of Bermuda in international waters where we will stand up our own nation, our own land, because you have to have your own land if you're a nation. Now, we can talk about land here in America. We can talk about what's happening down there in the South, in Louisiana or in Missouri or Tennessee or Alabama. We can talk about all you want. But the people on there, and that's a court battle that's going to go on. We could talk about going back to Africa, and that's a battle. But now the Fianca tribe over there, they've set some land aside. There's also some land in Ethiopia. But if you go there, then you got to go to those people and deal with that situation. We're setting up our own nation state in Bermuda, in international waters, where we'll be able to stand up our own flag. And as a member of that, you will have dual citizenship. You do not have to give up your American citizenship. You retain that. But you also become a member of the United States, of the Commonwealth of the African people. And that nation has the ability to allow you to use all your money and put all your money into our industry and our business so that American financial institutions cannot touch your money. You can take your money and put it into a Chase Bank. You can put your money into a Wells Fargo bank. You can put your money into a Bank America bank. And all they do is it passes right through their system into ours. And now they can't touch your money. They can't do nothing about it. Because now your money's
what about trust? Have you all dealt with trust, the trust aspect?
Brother,
setting up
now,
trust.
Yeah, now that's above my pay grade. Okay, there are people that are dealing with that. I don't have I do not believe in giving people misinformation. So that's the part that's being worked on, but it's not me. Now I understand that you and your organization has a lot of information about trust, and I believe to a certain extent that may be where Dr. Henderson comes into this. I don't know that, but I suspect that's part of it. But when it comes to trust, I'm sure you can give us a lot more information about that than I can. I'm not saying it's not an organization, but that's not where I have that expertise. I only speak about what I actually know. You're with me there?
I'm listening.
Okay. All right. So that's what I'm saying with that. But I'm dealing on the things that I know and I can talk about and we have set up, and so that's what we are now. Earlier, I was telling you about the tour, and I was telling you about, and I told you about my brother's keeper of Africa. Now, when I told you about Obama that money that's on his desk. We have set up a $5 trillion proposal on his desk that allows us to go ahead and take the funds that he's got left over from when he bailed out Wall Street. That money's sitting there. If he leaves office, that money's there, then whoever comes in, new president, will have the authority to do whatever they want with that money. Well, our proposal on Obama's desk allows him to do two things. It allows him to make sure that My Brother's Keeper of Africa goes forward the way it's supposed to, in terms of working with those youth and making sure that they're properly funded, because we're doing everything. We're doing an infrastructure program. We're putting that money in those homes. We're teaching those children. Also, United Healthcare is threatening to pull out of the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act. So they've threatened to jeopardize his signature legislation, which is the Obamacare. So we are going to buy Obamacare. That way, we're going to ensure that his legacy is preserved. Also, we're offering AfriCare. We're using a similar program, and we're offering health care to all of the African continent, so that not only is traditional medicine covered, but also holistic medicine is covered. And these are the type of programs that we are initiating. We're not talking about, we're not just talking. We're actually doing these. These are actually being implemented as we speak. And that's the key. So, again, I keep coming around this thing about this election. While we're on tour, we're dealing with the children, we're dealing with the teenagers, we're dealing with the young adults, the college kids, we're dealing with the middle-aged adults, and we're talking about the senior citizens. We're talking about all these different groups, the churches, the schools, the synagogues. We're talking about the masjids, the mosques. We're talking about the cultural organizations. We're talking about the businesses. We're talking about all of these different, bringing them to the table and working together as a nation, getting our people to understand that, again, from that $1.2 trillion of revenue, we got tremendous buying power. And by getting our people to funnel that money through our system, it gives us control. Because then we can negotiate, we can bargain with people to do things that as individuals we can never do. And that's what we're working on. And that is very important. So while we're on tour, we're going to be informing people and educating about things. And so anybody who's got something they want to bring to the table, they can get with me, the Sons and Daughters of Africa. And I will put them on some of their information on that tour when we go, so that people can understand what's going on and how they can participate and interact with them. Now, along with that tour, in addition to that, remember when I talked about the kids, we're doing the rites of passage. We're teaching our children how they must interact with each other, which is brothers and sisters, brother to brother, and brother and father to, and so on and so forth. We have to teach our children the proper interaction within our community. We also have.
Well, let me ask you this now. You because I'm listening to you, and there's no doubt in my mind that the things that you have going on is accurate. Y'all are accurate. You all got this thing working. It's international. It's global, and you are talking about being in contact and in sync with the right people and things. But I think that you got to look over me. I'm just a radio show host, and I think, could you tell us what led up to this? How did you get into thinking that? What was going on in the early years of your life coming up into this thing, and what touched you to make you be in the position that you are to be doing this thing? Could you give us that briefly?
You said the early years of my life.
Yeah, in the early days.
When I was born in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And the early years of my life, we moved. My father was a coal miner, and I grew up on a farm. With the horses and the cows and pigs and spreading manure. I learned to drive a tractor before I could ride a bicycle. We had to spread manure. So my father was a coal miner. So we moved to the city when I was by the time we got to the city, we moved to Toledo, Ohio, and then we moved on to Indianapolis, Indiana. By the time we got up there, I was in about the 4th grade time that President Kennedy got killed. So I was in an all-white school in the 5th grade. So when I went to the 6th grade, we moved 3 blocks down the street, and I went to a black school. In the black school, I learned the same thing that I learned the year before and the year before that in the 4th and 5th grades, the white school. So I was confused. I was like, we already learned this. Wow, I was gung ho when I got here, and I was like, I had this last year. But everybody I was in the 6th grade, so I was ready to move to the next level. But everybody was So then they built a new school, and I went to the new school in the black community, and everything went back to the normal speed. And so then that put a bug in my ear. Well, later on, when I got to high school, I wanted to be a nuclear physicist. Decided I wanted to be a nuclear physicist, and I wanted to be an astrophysicist. I wanted to have a dual major because I saw the relationship between the atom and the solar system. And I said, the atom and the solar system, they're the same thing. As it is above, so it is. So I said, I need to have me a master's degree in nuclear science, nuclear physics, so I can relate to that, and in astrophysics, so I can show people this similarity that nobody seems to be talking about because it's so obvious to me. Well, they shut me down in school. They told me, you don't need to learn that. I said, what do you mean? They said, no, you can't do that. So they put me out of class, told me that I was moving too fast. Every time I go to class, the teacher she asked a question, I knew the answers. They said, where did you learn the question? I said, I'm in chapter 12, chapter 14. They said, but you ain't supposed to be reading that. We're on chapter 4. I said, but y'all moving too slow. So they shut me down. About that time, Martin Luther King got killed. And then I got radicalized. I ended up going to Chicago to learn the black people's topographical center. I learned the history of our people. And I was ready to go to war. The pamphlets was everybody. But after that, I realized I had an uncle. His name was Major General Charles C. Rogers. Well, he was a Vietnam hero. President Nixon gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor. So he knew I was radical. He came and talked to me. He said, Davey, he used to call me Davey. He was shorter than I was, but he was a general. He's a major general, man. He was tight in his old age, older. So he told me, he said, you're a Libra. You're born in October. He said, Nat Turner was born in October. Libra. And he said, 1800. I said, yeah. He said, I was just learning. He said, and he went out and he went to war. And of course, they hung him and they skinned him. I said, yeah. He said, he said he had another contemporary. He said, actually, before Nat Turner was born, there was a guy by the name of Gabriel. He called him Gabriel the Blacksmith. He never called him Gabriel Prosser. He said Gabriel the Blacksmith. He said he was hanged. He said he and Nat Turner were contemporaries. He said, but they were only contemporaries for 8 days because 8 days after Nat Turner was born, they hanged Gabriel the Blacksmith. He said, now, both of them went to war. He said, but he told me, Nat was a preacher, and he saw visions, and he went to war with the white man because he was evil. And he said, he told me, I remember he's 55. He said, it was 55 years after he told me that in 1776, the year that Gabriel the Blacksmith was born, this country declared freedom, but Gabriel wasn't free. He said 55 years later, Nat Turner went to war with this country and killed 55 people. And he said, and in retaliation, the white people killed 55 people, 55 freedom fighters, including Nat Turner. He said, but you know what? He said, Nat did it overnight. He just jumped up and ran out and fought. He said, well, Gabriel planned his out. He mapped it out, and he thought about it, and he schemed, and he had a lot more people planned. He said he planned to go on the port city of Norfolk. He said he strategized. He thought of it. He organized his real carefully. He said right before he went to go and do his war, he said it would have probably been very successful. He said, but Gabriel didn't plan to just kill all white people. He said because he realized that the problem was not a racist problem. He said it wasn't black and white. He said it was economic. He said so Gabriel had planned to go and attack the Federalists, and he was planning on attacking the merchants because they were running the shelf. And he said he figured that the poor white people would join in because they were all suffering under the same system. He said, but there was a big storm before it happened, and he said some weak-minded people turned him in. He said, and Gabriel got hung as well. He said, but in both of those situations, he said, and especially in Gabriel's situation, he said there was agents involved. He said, so you got to be careful when you're doing things because people will tell on you and they'll get you in trouble. He said, so I want you to think about what you're doing. He said, now you want to go to war. He said, I'm a soldier. He said, one thing I know is this. You don't go to war with somebody who's got bigger guns than you got. You can't win. He said, so why don't you think about it? There's more than one way to skin a cat. Just think about it. And so I did. I put down my guns. I stopped, because I thought about it. I said, you're right. I said, because it was just me and a couple other people. I said, we can't win this war. So I decided to change my tactics, and I became an activist, and I began to organize it. And so from that point on, I went this way, that way, and I saw it. I started traveling around the country. I lived in 40 states in the United States. I've lived in 40 different states. Now, all of my life, I saw the similarities and differences and problems I had all over, and I organized. But I've been in all kinds of organizations. I belong to the churches. I belong to the mosque. I belong to the mosque. I've been to the Buddha temple. I've been over to the synagogue, and then I've been a member of the UNICL. I've been a member of the Black Muslims. I've been a member of this group, that PGRNA. I'm a member of all these different groups and cultural organizations, ULU. And what I realized is that all these groups, they got limitations. So finally, when I got, I went into a performing arts, and I met my wife, and we opened a performing arts center, and I started working with the children. For 15 years, I worked with the children, and I taught the children the best I could, and I tried to teach them what I could, but then I was limited because I had only so much I could do. Well, then after my wife passed away, then I left, didn't do much for a while, and that's when I met Herschel. Now Herschel of the FAU, at the same time when the brother brought me on to do the Sons and Daughters of Africa tour. Because remember I said I had a performing arts center. Well, for 15 years, we toured around the United States, and we had a production called Straight from Heaven, the gospel show. And so when I met Herschel, I was going to take the show. We were going to do the thing in Africa, and I said everything now put it on hold. Well, I met Herschel, and now Herschel had been meeting with the African Union. When the African Union had invited everybody to the table, and the African Union made his offer, they said, hey, we need to work with you. Well, they called everybody to the table, but there were very few people there. Well, Herschel was one of the ones there with the Friends of the African Union. And Herschel comes out of governance. He was formerly an ambassador to the United States, but he was an ambassador for Guinea to the United States. So he knows that operation. And so he's an engineer. He's an engineer. He's in, like I said, out of Cincinnati, Ohio, Hargrove Engineering. And he began to work with people, and he looked at what they had offered, what the African Union said, and he went to work, this engineer, and he went to work building up the network of all of the things that I've been telling you about. And they then began negotiating with people all across the country, with Brother Jim Newsom at the Urban Tech Fair up there, so we erased the digital divide, working with other people, Brother Carlton Brown up there in Cincinnati. And in Cincinnati, they have something called a Croson decision, which means that they mean tested that city, and they decided that certain things have to be in place in Cincinnati for there to be true economic justice for the people. So Cincinnati is a perfect place for this to start. And as a result of that, he's got a network set up where they can actually implement these plans. Now, Herschel got most of these things done. He's the one that wrote the letter to Obama, which pretty much prompted him to set up the My Brother's Keeper program. And so when that came down, I partnered with him. I've been working with him, and that's how we got involved with the My Brother's Keeper agenda. And I got all that information. And I realized how important it is, because remember what I said, for 15 years, that's all I did was taught children. I had a martial arts school. My wife had a dance school. We worked with those children and found out what their problems was. Everybody brought me their problem kids. Well, we worked with those children and understood how to help them get over their problems. So when I learned about the My Brother's Keeper, that was perfect for me. And in addition to that, there's touring. When we're going to go out and explain to everybody information. Well, again, that's good for me, because for 15 years, all we did was tour around the United States. So putting these programs together made perfect sense for me. I already had the experience to do the tours. I had the experience working with the children and educating them. And I had the history of a struggle of war, being ready to go to war, but not able to because my guns weren't big enough. But now, and then I remember Uncle told me that it really was not about the guns. It was about the economics, because this is all an economic struggle. So all of this came together to me. And with that being said, I began to get more and more involved. I was in Baltimore, where they had the Global African Diaspora Summit, where the heads of Africa from ECOSOC came over to sit down and talk with us. And remember I told you about those 5 legacy projects. In 2012, they laid out the 5 legacy projects. And they were remember what I said earlier, they was the Volunteer Corps. Well, that's WADU now. We've agreed with WADU for WADU to be the Volunteer Corps for everybody to funnel into that umbrella. And then we have the Skills Database. Well, the Skills Database will be up soon on AU6.global. We've got putting that together, that network. And then we have the African mittens. So we have our African dollar set up. We got a mint in Cincinnati where we can mint our own coins We got access to the silver and the minerals and the land in Zimbabwe that they've allowed us to use for revenue anticipation so we can mint our own coins. And then we need the investment bank. That's NCRC. That company, that organization, they've dealt over $500 billion of small business loans and investments in minority communities. And we have that affiliation. We've been organized with them. We're working with them, and we're partners with them. So we meet every quarter with the Treasury Secretary. We're already hooked up in that loop. And right now, the United Nations is in Cincinnati. They're doing their study. They're doing a universal peer review based on what Obama said about the humanitarian crisis in America. So they're up there negotiating with them right now about this very same issue. And then, and I said earlier, so with the African remittance, we have the ability, we already have the network set up with our infrastructure where we can transfer money anywhere in the United States for less money than Western Union. That's already set up. We've got that done. We got the investment bank. The last thing, the marketplace of the African development, that's what we're building right now. We're bringing people to the table, letting people understand how they can invest in Africa, how we can transfer our money and work together to unite all of our people and work together. And finally, when it comes to the vote in October, we will be standing up there to vote. We're going to elect those people. Now, here's the thing. It's absolutely important for our people to unite around a common cause. It doesn't matter what your individual, personal focus is. Mm-hmm. Without us working together, you're just a little pinprick. But together,
that's right.
We can allow each individual to move with their specific focus, and they still got the protection of the group working with them. So we can use all these small organizations instead of me doing this, you doing that. It's us doing it together. And anytime you need our help, the whole organization supports you. And anytime somebody else needs help, the whole organization supports them. And we can do that because we've got these individual organizations that can keep that pressure on that particular thing. And when they need it, they can reach the group and say, okay, now it's time for everybody to come to the table because we've got this issue. And everybody can move that direction. But as long as everybody keeps being separated, then we hear something like a brother's talking about what happened up here in St. Louis. Well, you have to hear about that, and you say, what's going on? He tells you, well, you didn't know what's going on. I didn't know what's going on. But by us having this umbrella organization with our own network, we're going to have our own communication system where you can go to, you can get all the latest topics. You don't have to be deluged with the American election system. You can be dealing with our election system, what's going on in our communities, what's important to us. I went to not VH1. Yeah, VH1. I thought VH1 was a black channel. And that one Oprah owns. So I went there to see what's going on the black channel. You know what I saw? Mm-hmm. Reruns of Good Times. Reruns of Sanford and Son. I'm like, how this is a black channel and we got reruns of Good Times, and they could be putting information on there about our people to inform our people. But see, so many of these Negropeans, they get some money. When they get money, their bosses, because they ain't nothing but the new house niggas, they get their money, and the first thing they tell them is you can't help black people. You can only do so much. I was looking on one of these sites earlier. They were talking about, I think it was like 20 or 30 black people that had riches. A couple of them, $20 million, $40 million, $200 million, and they was all broke. Wesley Snipes, what's his name? Take your pick. Luda, 50 Cent, Mike Tyson. Just all down the road, all the people that had money, how they lost it. All that big money. And none of them really came to the people with it. They got up there and they got happy doing their thing. They ain't nothing but the donkey, they ain't nothing but the carrot dangling out in front of the donkey to make everybody think, I can get that. No, you can't. That ain't nothing but an illusion. You want to get that? We need to build our own. You heard what Claude Anderson said earlier. This wasn't for us. This is set up for them, and they ain't going to let us have this. So we have to build our own. And we have the structure, we have the infrastructure, we have the opportunity. And right now, when I tell you earlier about when that market meltdown happened and they gave Obama that authority, they didn't know it was going to be a black president. But when it came in, and here's the thing, if they hadn't fought him tooth and nail, spent that money in the infrastructure of this country, building up these roads, building up these bridges, but they fought him back because Republicans did what they didn't want him to succeed. So he did what he could, but the rest of it, the money's just sitting there. They won't let him spend it. Now, because he got trying to get the bills through the Congress. But now what we're going to do, we set up and say, now listen, before you leave office, you can do everything you said you want to do, including those infrastructure programs. Because since they wouldn't let you do it, put the money on the table. We got the plan. Well, we'll do it. It still gets done. You'll get the credit because it gets accomplished. In addition to that, you will have solved the race problem in this country because now black people will no longer be the underdogs. We'll be able to do our own thing. We're going to have our own country. We're not going to be trying to be Arab Americans anymore. We will be, but that's not our big focus. When we tried to be Americans, tried to integrate, all we did was took the money we used to put in our own pockets and we gave it to other people. The integration was just a way for us to give everybody our money but ourselves. Integration was a way for us to go into volunteer slavery. So what we're saying is we're going to take it back. To a point where you put your money in somebody's pocket, it's a black person's pocket. And even though you may not see it, your brother will see it, your sister, your cousin, your child will see it, because that money is going to be back in their community, back in our community, back in our pockets. And when you need something, you can come to us and say, you know what? I've been buying my products from you all my life, and I'm broke now. You know what we're going to tell you? Come on home. You helped us grow. You helped us build. Now, we're a nation. We're not going to forget our people. That's our heritage. Our people is our heritage is the circle. Our heritage is the community. But we take care of each other. You know, there's no such thing as a single woman with uncles and brothers and a child that don't have a father. You know, if that girl's got 4 brothers and she got a child, no husband, he got 5 fathers. He got them uncles that will be there to support him. And when our people get old, you know, we don't kick our people out. We take care of them. That's our mindset. That's our mentality. Kicking them to the curb, that's European mindset. We don't do that. But we have to come back.
Let me ask you this. Now, you mentioned earlier about the Moorish American government. Have you had the opportunity to get a copy of the book Noble Drew Ali, The Exhuming of a Nation, written by Elihu Pleasant Bey, or have you had the opportunity to talk with him or met him?
No, I haven't. As my introduction to the Moorish science came late in my life, and I got to Circle 7, and I read that book, and I was introduced to Brother Ed Gates Bay here, and I talked to a number of Moors who have opened my eyes to a lot of things. But like with so many different organizations, there was division in the Moorish science, and so I wasn't sure which branch was really the correct one. It took me a while to navigate that, but I'm still learning. I'm 63 years old, but I'm still learning. There's so much information out there that I don't have, that I don't know, but I want to learn it. However, I have to understand my mission. My mission in life is to get this information out so that we can bring our people together. Now, I think for our younger children, for me it's good too, but I mean, the thing that I want to do is information like that. That's the kind of information we need to flow to these young kids we're raising up. See, they need to know that as young children, so that as they grow up with that information. Instead of them having to say, I got to make time for this, I got to make time for that, they'll already grow up with that information. And that's what we're talking about. Seeing people like yourself and Dr. Henderson, people to have that kind of information. When we go on our tour, we want people like you and them to be there with those children, educating them. And once we leave the children, we're not going to just leave them. We're going to be coming back. We're going to set up tapes and sessions where the children will come out, and they'll be constantly fed this information back over and over again so they learn it and they grow up with it. Because if you give it to a person one time, they read it, that's okay, but everything that's going on in life, they're going to forget it. So we want to make sure they get it growing up so that as they get older, they understand it and they realize the value of that. I understand somewhat about Noble Drew Ali. I did some research on him, and I'm impressed. The gentleman I was asking you about was the author of the book, The Exhuming of a Nation, Noble Drew Ali, Elihu Pleasant Bey, the chairman of the Moorish government. No, I haven't met him. I look forward to it. Oh, okay. All right. That's what I was asking you, because I know I was looking at your name. It says Yonah L. Yes. And I know you have to know something about the Moors, and so the best place to start would be in the 4th edition of the Black's Law Dictionary. Look up the word land, and you will see what that means. But anyway, that's what I was asking you, if you had the opportunity to meet him
And
no, but I look forward to it. But I will get that. I'll check out Blacks About Land. I got an idea what that means, but more important, I want to check out that book that you told me. Give me that title of that book again.
That's Noble Drew Ali, The Exhuming of a Nation.
The Exhuming of a Nation. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. In order to exhume a body, you have to remove some dirt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure that must be important because you brought it to me, and I'm definitely going to follow through with that.
Okay. Well, now, what is your take on a man who is involved in has a mindset of creating things, self-creationist? What do you think about him?
Say that again.
A self-creationist, an individual who always looks to create something that works him and benefits everybody else from his own mind, his own creation, opposed to going to work for somebody else, but to create something that he can provide jobs for other people. Self-creationist.
When I was little, my father used to always try to put together a family business. He used to always tell everybody in the family, because, like I said, we all came from West Virginia. And so when we got up here, it was him, it was my father, most of my mother's family was up here. But my father and most of my father's family was in California. But he used to always tell everybody, he said, you know what? He said, if we get together, we all doing all right. We could put a little money together and build a little store or something. And Eddie used to always argue with him tooth and nail about who was going to run it. He said, well, it's my idea. I should run it. No, I want to do it. And he said, okay, I don't care who runs it. Anybody can run it. Let's just do it. Well, they couldn't get together. No matter how he tried to work with them, whether it was him running, everybody, they all talked and they ran back round circles, and they never could quite get together on it. So when I finally, like I said, when I finally got old enough, I went up, opened up my own business, and I did that on the strength of what he told me to do, and that made all the difference in the world in my life. Now, in terms of people working for somebody else, if your mind cannot rise to the level of being able to control what you do, then you should go and get you a job and you should work for somebody. But if you are creative, if you're a thinker, if you're a forward-thinking person, if you're intelligent, if you can handle your own self, and you can feed your own self, you should be able to have your own business. One thing for sure, if a man has 10 people working for him, and you're satisfied with being one of the people that working for him, you got a problem. Because you got to ask yourself, if I want to work for a man that's got 10 people working for him and he can afford to pay me, why shouldn't I be the man with 10 people working for me and I can pay them? Because he's living a life better life. If he can pay 10 people, he must be doing exceptionally well. And if he can pay 100 people, he's doing that much better. And if he can pay 1,000 people, well, it makes sense that he'd want to be at the top, and that's where you should aspire to be. But see, everybody can't get their head around it. That's what Brother Kareem was talking about earlier. You know, that some people, they've been mentally imprisoned, just like Harriet Tubman was saying. She couldn't free them slaves who didn't know they were slaves. And so there's nothing to do about those. But a man should always look to have his own. That, remember, that old spiritual says, Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child has got his own. You need to have your own. You need to have your own land. You need to have your own farms. You need to have your own stores. I mean, how many people out here want to have a car that belongs to somebody else? You don't want to have somebody else's car. You got to borrow somebody else's car all the time. Like, you want to go out here and you need some shoes. You want to borrow somebody else's shoes. You want to wear some clothes. You don't have to borrow somebody else's clothes all the time. Well, that's what happens when you got a job. You constantly got to borrow somebody else, because the minute that person say no, you ain't got nothing. So you need to have your own. You need to set up your own business. And it don't have to be a big business. It can be a small business. But at least you can come to work when you want to. You should be able to hire at least 1 or 2 people. You know, if you ain't got nobody doing but cutting grass or cleaning up houses, you know, or painting houses or delivering groceries, whatever. But you should have your own where you can call the shots. And anybody got a job where they can't take a vacation, I mean, a decent vacation, and not just around the corner, but where you can leave the country and come back and not be worried about paying the bills. You know, you need to have money in the bank.
You know, we got we don't have any communities inside the United States. How do we transform our neighborhoods into secure and thriving communities, in your opinion?
Well, you got to remember, I keep going back to the same thing. My brother's keeper. First off, Sons and Daughters of Africa is going to be going on tour to get people's attention. First thing you want to do is you got to get people's attention. You know, as an individual trying to do something, it ain't going to happen. You know, me and you on these phone calls, people out, that ain't going to work. I did this for years, and I met a lot of people, but I didn't change a lot. I got some people doing the same thing. I got a lot of people doing their own calls and things, but it didn't change a lot. See, now when I was on tour, you figure out we on tour, and we're going to get the word out, and we're going to be organizers. So when you go to a community and you have this big tour, then you bring everybody to the table, and you put things on the table, and you show people how to do things, and you connect people who want to actively make something happen. See, because you can't go to a community and find one person here, two people over there, and make nothing happen. You can, but it takes too long. But if you can get 1/4 or half of the people in the city that want to organize together at the same place, and that's what this tour is designed to do. And you're talking to people. You give people their marching orders, and you let everybody know this here is about talking together, interacting. You let people know whatever you want to do, we're here to make this happen. This ain't about just talking. It's about active. That's where you get started. But once you set that seed and you get it in motion, when you leave the next city, you keep those two cities connected so that now whatever they're doing in the first city, now they're doing in the second city, and those two cities are connected. So whatever's happening over there, now you got that connection. Because, see, now we're in a global society. You can't exist in a vacuum. So the whole purpose of this tour is to make sure that in every city where we got a group of people trying to do business, those people are working together, and they got people in the next cities working with them, and in every city we got a core group of people working towards the same goal, uniting our people and organizing our people and building economic development. So it's not just one group, but they always got resources. Now that means that people in Atlanta, they decide they want to go to Chicago. When they get to Chicago, they got a group of people up there actively engaged in business that they can work to and go to that's about something. And vice versa. If they go to New York or L.A. or New Orleans or Florida or someplace in Florida, then we have a group that they can go to and they can interact with people that are about business. Everybody talking about this. Now, this way we keep the line of communication open. Also at the same time, because the scripture says this you ought to have done and not left the other undone. We have to go to the children and we have to teach our children. We have to raise our children with the mindset. Because, see, our children are taught to go to get a job. That's what all our school teaches kids. Go to school, come out, get a job. That's it. They're not taught to get our business. So we want to teach our children. You need to own your infrastructure. You need to own something. Let's think about what kind of business you want, what kind of industry you want, how you want to control things so that you can provide not only for yourself, but for your family and your children and your community. We need to give them that mindset from the little babies all the way up. That's phase 2. Now, at the same time we're doing that, we're talking about engaging those people that are putting their minds together to build their community. Because you can't do it with a few people. We get as many people as possible in every situation. We got our programs going into the schools where we're educating our children, teaching them about the history of our people, who they really are, building their self-esteem, and teaching them that they must aspire to be business owners and not just consumers. They must be producers. Understanding the value and the connection to the land, that they must have food security. They must partner with the farmers and make sure that those farmers are supported so when they need food, they can get the food from those farmers so they can get it to their people so you can eat. Because if you can't eat, you got a big problem. Making sure that we got people that manufacture our own clothes so we communicate. Now we got this network built. From there.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, what books DVDs, information do you recommend in the authors for us gaining this historical knowledge and this economical knowledge? What books do you and what other authors?
I'm going to tell you something that I recommend for people.
Mm-hmm.
And this book, it's not a complicated book. It's not about deep knowledge. It's about simple mindset. It's about understanding how you get to understand that you can do something. Most people don't. You're trying to get somebody to figure out, well, what business should I go into, or what should I learn to teach me how to do whatever it is. And they get wrapped up in that, and they don't know where to go. Or you give them a book, and they read the book, and the book tells them, gives them a lot of information, but doesn't get their mind oriented to accomplish what they need to get. So the book that I'm going to recommend, it's called The Science of Getting Rich. The book is by Wallace D. Wattles. You can get it online. It's a free book. What this book does, and I recommend a person read it at least 2 or 3 times, it gets you to understand that the world is infinite. The universe is infinite. When you think about that, you need money, you need something, well, you got to understand, number one, people tend to think, well, I don't have it, or I got to get it, how can I get it, or somebody else got it. You have to understand that the universe is infinite. And once you can tap into that universal essence, that you realize there's more than enough of what it takes for you to grow and develop and build. But you have to get your mind wrapped around the fact that you don't have to take what belongs to somebody else. Your own is in the ether. Your own is in the universe. You just have to attract it to yourself. And you have to believe in it. And once you realize that, well, once you get that concept, now then from there, you can tap into other resources, other sources of information to help you develop it. But you have to get your mind wrapped around the concept of not so much lack, because we've been taught this concept of supply and demand. It's been driven in our heads that this is the system, that how it works. And as a result of that, we get structured in such a way that we can't function outside of that. Well, this book is only designed to make you realize that there's more than enough for everybody. And the only purpose that I say that book does is get you to break the chain of thinking I got to get a job. To break that chain and realize that, you know what, I can do whatever I want. And that's what this book is designed to do. It's by a guy named Wallace D. Wattles. And I think it's on
Wallace D. What's his last name?
Wattles. Wattles. Wallace D. Wattles. It's like, I think it's about 75 pages.
Wallace Wattles. Okay.
Yeah, Wattles.
I know I got it.
The Science of Getting Rich. And it opens up your mind to thinking about what we are, who we are, and what's here. Because if a person limits themselves, then you never can reach for something if you don't think it's there. But once you understand that it's there, and see, I'll be honest with you, once you do that, you start letting your mind flow. And you're like, well, there's something out there. What is it? Then you open your mind to it. You become receptive to it. If you're not receptive to something, it can't change. Like again, going back to what Cream saying about the sister, the welfare. She never opened her mind up to other things. She already had her mind set. She'd closed. You never added this. You got your hand closed. If somebody give you $100 and you got your hand closed, you can't get it. You got to open your hand up. So when somebody's trying to give knowledge and information, you got to open your mind up. This is one of the problems I have with a lot of religious people, especially a lot of Christians. They think that everything that they need to know, all the knowledge in the world, is in the Bible. And if it ain't in the Bible, it ain't good. Well, that means that they can never own a business, or they can never learn how to control economics or government, because they don't teach you about that in the Bible. Now, it's in there, but it's kind of hidden. So for a person to be able to control their businesses, they'll never happen, because they're still focusing on God. And it's okay to be focused on God, but God is for later on. right now. You're in the here and now. You need to deal with these people and what's going on in this world right now. And so even though as good as God is and as good as all that is for understanding, you're hungry. You say, God, I'm hungry. I got to pay my light bill. He ain't gonna give you no money. He may give you some information, you're feeling maybe somewhere down the road something blessing will happen to you, but you got to go out and figure out how to get that money. You got to work or you got to do something. So you have to engage yourself in the here and now, and that is something you got to do on a constant basis until you understand about the concept of futuristic planning and thinking ahead and realizing that what I'm doing right now is okay, but I need to be planning for the future. I don't need to be worried about just tomorrow, next week, next month. I need to work about 10 years from now. And I need to constantly be thinking about what's going to happen to me in 10 years, and that will carry over to now and make me a working towards what I need to accomplish. I get actively engaged in that moving forward on a constant basis. I can't just sit and say, well, it'll happen. Yeah, it'll happen. But when it happens, it'll be whatever it happens without you. It'll be a result of something somebody else did or something else somebody else put in effect. But you need to set your own path. You need to move forward in your own direction, and you need to be controlling it. You need to be sitting at the steering wheel when you're driving the car. You got to turn that wheel left. You got to turn it right. You got to put your foot on the gas. You got to put your foot on the brake. You ain't control. That's what we.
Well, now let me ask you this. Now we're going down to the close of the broadcast. What is it in closing? The most important thing that you can give us, and we certainly appreciate you being here. But what in closing that you can give us that we should be doing now?
The most important thing that I can tell a person to do is, first off, you got to search yourself and find out if it's for you. Because I understand one thing, it ain't for everybody. Some people, if it ain't for you, don't waste your time. Don't come to me. Don't get involved with us. But if you want to change the world, if you want to be a better world for your children, for your people, then they need to get involved. And I keep telling people the best way to do that right now is you go to that website, au6.info, au6.info, and find out how to reach out to me, come forward with an idea or with a plan for some type of business. If you don't know how to do the business, it doesn't matter. Just contact us and say, hey, I want to have a business of my own. I don't even know what it is, but I want a business, and I'm ready to get it. Then we'll work with you. We'll help you. We will help you from scratch. We'll help you to concept to implementation. We'll help you with financing. We'll help you with everything. But you got to really want it. You got to be willing to dedicate it, to work towards it. And you got to be willing to work with other people. You have to be willing to put petty differences aside. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean you can't work with them. We have to understand that our problems are rooted in economics, and we must address ownership. But all of that, I can talk around circles about this. It comes down to simply being owner. Understanding, like you said about land a minute ago, understanding that there's two things you can do in life. You can either be in control or you can be controlled. If you're in control, whether you control yourself or others, that's what you are. And if you're being controlled, then that's just it. I mean, you just a ship out on the ocean. It'll end up someplace somewhere. But I'll say it again and again. If you're not a part of some organization, either join one. Join some organization, anything. If you can't get a job, then volunteer. Be a part of something. And then bring them to the table so that we can move forward as a people. Understand your history. Do some research. If you can't do the research, at least talk to somebody. That's about it. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I tell you what, I certainly appreciate you being on and giving us this information. And everybody hung here with us to hear everything that you had to say. And we do look forward to having you on in the future to do another broadcast with me, Brother Yonah.
It'd be my pleasure. I should give you guys an update. Like I said, I'm going to go on the other call right now. If anybody wants to go to it, I'll give that number one more time. It's
641 715 3580, and the access code is 480-688#. We'll be on it. It'll be our 5th year anniversary. We'll be talking about the phone company we just stood up, and we also be talking about the other things that I was talking about here about the implementation, how we're moving forward with it. Okay. Well, all right, brother.
It's been wonderful working with you and talking to your people, man. I look forward to talking again. I'm going to be listening on your calls as much as I can so we can keep working together.
All right, my brother. Well, I thank you so much for calling in. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just finished listening to Brother Yonah L., and he's giving you all of the information. The number that he's going to now, his conference call is 641-715-3580, access code 480-688, and you can dial into that conference call at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we're out of time now, and you all stay tuned. We will be having the Grand National Chairman of the Moorish American Government that will be getting with us later on in the week, but I'll keep you posted on the upcoming broadcast that we're doing, because we're trying to get as much information as we can out at the top of 2016. I've been your host, Tarhaka Amaana El Bey, and next time, good night.